grandfather's lap at an Astros game. An attorney for the family of the child says the 2.5-year-old now takes anti-seizure medication for her brain injury that affected her central nervous system in a way that is described by doctors as the equivalent of a stroke. Attorney Richard Mithoff tells the Houston Chronicle that the girl suffers periods of staring spells, unresponsiveness, nightmares, and frequent headaches. No legal action has been filed. All 30 Major League Baseball stadiums will be safer next season. All ballparks will have extended safety netting, and 7 will feature protective netting from foul pole to foul pole.
Fox's Jared Max. An hour to the close on Wall Street, a rally into record territory. The Dow's up 245, topping 28,800 as oil prices tumble, falling back under $60 a barrel. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Happy New Year, folks! KFC's Colonel Sanders here. It's back! A great KFC chicken sale. The $5 box has 2 KFC boneless crispy chicken strips and 2 sides. Our $10 chicken share is your choice of 12 KFC hot wings, 8 chicken strips or popcorn chicken. And my KFC $20 Wow Bucket is back. Wow. 10 pieces original recipe drums and thighs with 2 large red rice. It's a great way to start 2020. This sale only happens in January, so visit us at KFC today. It's finger-licking good.
Go green, go hybrid, go to Nanbo Insurance, and your next power bill is on us. Insure your hybrid car at Nanbo and get up to $350 towards your next power bill. That's instant savings for keeping our island clean and green. Nanbo has been providing Guam with over 50 years of reliable and affordable auto insurance. At Nanbo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit nanbo.com or call 477-9754 for details.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. It's 6:06. I'm Mana Silva Tyron, and here are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. There's no clear word from the Jotnya mayor if he intends to resign while he awaits his criminal trial, but he apparently will be taking some action in impaneling a municipal planning council. According to the mayor's council executive director, Angel Sablan, they're just waiting for word from his attorney on his selection of the council members. Mayor Jesse Blas has been in jail since being arrested in August on charges of bribery in connection with a drug operation that was taking place in his village. His trial is not set to take place until February, and because he hadn't previously selected a council, Jotnya Village was left without a village leader. The council, once in place, will handle the duties of the mayor in his absence. Blas has not said when he will choose the council members, though ultimately his colleagues would rather have him step down and allow for another mayor to be elected. There has been also some action in the community to have him recalled. Blas is scheduled to appear back in court on January 22nd. His trial is set to begin with jury selection on February 4th. A woman charged with scamming the food stamp program escaped having to go to jail. Yolanda Diegelman, one of the 2 Government of Guam nutrition assistance employees accused of food stamp fraud, pleaded guilty to official misconduct. She was given a year prison sentence, which was suspended. As part of her agreement, the prosecution moved to dismiss charges of unauthorized use of benefits under the Supplemental Nutritional Program and identity theft. Diegelman would also be required to pay restitution to the government per her plea agreement. Diegelman and her co-defendant, Jennifer Tapascio, were both indicted after they transferred, acquired, or possessed food stamp coupons. Tapascio pleaded guilty to official misconduct and as a misdemeanor in 2019. Her sentencing is still outstanding, but Tapaccio's plea agreement indicated that she too will receive a 1-year suspended sentence and have her felony charges dismissed. Gas stations were busy yesterday as folks tried to beat the hike in gas prices. This as stations were expected to jack up the prices at the pump. They increased by 10 cents per gallon, bringing the cost per gallon to $4.25. And it was hoped that the bickering would cease, but the back and forth between the legislature and Guam's congressmen continues this morning. It was last week that the administration signed Bill 181 into law that would allow for payments of war claims to be paid out of local coffers. But just as Congressman Mike Nicholas warned, the bill's passage may have adversely impacted his efforts to pass a bill in the Senate to allow the Treasury Department to cut checks to Guam. Nicholas issued a statement yesterday warning that the backlash in the Senate has already come to pass. Nicholas stating that he received word that there is now a concern with H.R. 1365, which had previously had full support. But in a written response, the Speaker of the legislature retorted, to date, the only member of Congress to complain about Bill 181 has been Mike Nicholas. If H.R. 1365 is now facing danger in the Senate, maybe it's because he so loudly complained about the smoke, no one can tell that he started the fire, she stated. Barnes said that she plans on meeting with members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, where she will advocate for the passage of H.R. 1365. Nicholas responded, Speaker, please stay home. More news after this.
It's hard to believe, but Security Title is 20 years old. Reaching this milestone is a clear testament to the hard work of our employees, who are as passionate about our work as we are about our community. We are most grateful for the realtors, lenders, attorneys, investors, and the buyers and sellers we serve. They are the reason our doors have been open for 20 years. Security Title looks back with gratitude for the past 20 years and looks forward with optimism to the next 20. Thank you, Guam.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo, 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
The Guam Waterworks Authority will cut the ribbon today for the newly upgraded Umatic Maritso wastewater treatment plant. The plant was first built in 1981, and the $21 million upgrade will serve more than 500 GWA customers in the two villages. This will be a significant improvement, they say, to wastewater treatment to these southern villages and for the protection of the Toquan River and the marine environment. Funding for the project came from 2010, 2013, and 2016 bond borrowing, as well as system development charges assessed against land developers. And Costules has been given a clean bill from public health inspectors who say they couldn't verify a complaint of outdated meat being repackaged with new labels. The complaint filed after a video captured what appeared to be meat being repacked. The person claimed it was outdated meat, but Costules said that that wasn't true at all. The public health inspection took place on January 3rd and confirmed that Costules was not in violation at all. A man charged in connection to a machete incident that turned deadly in Tamuning last November has pleaded not guilty to murder in the Superior Court. Defendant Rusty Rousseau was charged with murder as a first-degree felony with a special allegation of possession or use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. Stanley Sulaik, who is his brother, initially was taken to GMH after being stabbed in his leg, but later he died. Court documents state that the two men were playing with a machete while they were drunk, and Rousseau struck Sulaik in the leg. Rousseau, who is represented by attorney Shin Flynn with the alternate public defender's office, waived his rights to a speedy trial. He is scheduled to be back in court on January 30th. And a couple whose car ran out of gas on January 7th ended up being arrested on drug possession charges. Police saw the driver of the vehicle, John Sahagan, removing a gas can from his trunk that was pulled over on the side of the road. Sahagan told police that his car had run out of gas and that he called a friend for help. Police saw Jessica Smith sitting in the passenger seat with a 7-month-old infant. Sahagan told police that he didn't have a driver's license or vehicle registration. Police later obtained consent to search both the vehicle and Smith's purse. Police were able to find drugs and drug paraphernalia in the car. On the floor of the front passenger seat, police also found small, clear, resealable bags with white residue that later tested positive for methamphetamine. Sahagan was charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance, and Smith was charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
It looks like this. Partly sunny skies, Mana, and breezy with isolated showers. Expected northeast winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, decreasing a bit overnight. Highs near 86 degrees. Overnight lows about 76 degrees. Another nice day and half fours. Sunset tonight at 6:08. Sunrise this morning should be about 6:46. So it's a little ways off. Going to be near the beach today. Just to be aware, a lot of wind these days, and high surf advisory is in effect until 6 o'clock tonight along north-facing reefs. High risk of rip current through Friday afternoon along north and east-facing reefs as well. So be very, very careful if you're going to be out there. Michael Knight's going to take a look at the weather radar right now, give you an idea of what the near-term weather is going to be like, and then we'll look at the satellite and see all that windy coming in.
Yeah, it looks like we're kind of sandwiched between a couple of shear lines. One passed way south of us, starting earlier this week. Got another one that's just kind of hanging around to the north and in the area. Just some isolated showers from those particular weather features. Not a whole lot going on right now as we kind of look at things. We'll switch over to satellite real quick. It'll show more of what's happening. We actually have a lot of clouds that have suddenly moved on up from the south. This is mostly mid and upper level stuff, so there's not a whole lot at the surface to make any rainfall, and there's not a whole lot of moisture in between the surface and the upper levels. So
it tried to rain yesterday. I mean, we had a couple of sprinkles.
Yeah, we get some sprinkles, and a lot of that starts out as virga, and then the air is so dry at the surface, it just kind of dries out before it hits us. But we will get a sprinkle or two. Looks like we can see more of this. They may update the weather discussion. I know from last night, they were saying there's not really much of a chance of any sort of rainfall or anything. But as I look at this satellite, I see a pretty big clump of clouds off to the southeast, and that looks fairly significant. And right now, we're kind of in between trade wind systems, so it could be very likely that this might move up in here. We'll check that out a little bit later. Officially, the forecast calling for what you called for, just a few clouds, maybe an isolated shower. Winds will pick up just a bit today. That might be a reflection of this disturbance. It's passing down to the south. They were forecasting that. So look at 15 to 25 today, and of course, you've got those water hazards as well.
Watch out. Headwinds if you're running or cycling. This morning, 6:15. That's news and weather together, brought to you by Bank Pacific. Banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
Live the balanced lifestyle. Take Care Insurance offers proven wellness and fitness programs to encourage individuals and families to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle through preventative care, being active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. They have the island's largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs for all ages. Join the movement. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit takecareasia.com to learn more.
Says here, start 2020 fresh with Wendy's salads, made fresh every day. Set a goal this year to eat healthy and feel healthy. Over 5 salads to choose from over at Wendy's. The classic Parmesan Caesar salad, or try the fruity apple pecan salad. Those are all good. Make your mama proud. Eat your greens at Wendy's. Now, that's better. Portions of the program also brought to you by APL, American President Lines. That's an APL global presence with a local home.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Day on Guam Thursday, as a matter of fact, the Ray Gibson Show at 93.3 The Point. I'm Ray. Welcome to the program. And as I'm fond of saying, excuse the mess. And sometimes it's just a mental mess. But, say it's been cleaner around here since Mana got to the radio station. Since she started working here, you got to say it's a little bit cleaner in the studio. I've noticed, the bathroom smells good. And all of those kinds of things. Baby sister Mana Silva Tyrant hanging out with me and taking care of news responsibilities and the occasional jump in with a little bit of institutional knowledge, having been a former senator and working in administration. Well, observations and opinions. And somebody asked me, they said, Ray, what's your show about? I said, well, it's about 4 hours long. And they said, no, what do you guys talk about on the radio? And I said, it's a lot of political gossip and smart-ass comments.
Mm-hmm.
So
mostly smart-ass comments.
Yeah, so if that's what you're in, and boy, have the headlines set us up for a whole bunch of those here today. We'll talk about that as we launch into the rest of the program. Michael Knight gets the phone when you call at 888-8255, 888-TALK.
I bring institutional institutional knowledge as well. Unfortunately, it's the mental institution.
Exactly. But, there has to be room, I think, in a well-rounded and
It's all
diverse
about
program.
balance, yeah.
Yes, for that kind of thing. 988-5874 if you want to pop in some interesting and funny memes that we've got out there. There's some crazy stuff that's hitting the inbox this morning. But let me get you a panoramic shot of what Guam looks like right now. It's dark. It's I don't know what you can make out on this. You can make out just a little bit of the scenery out there as somebody is showing off the view from the rooftop and the horizon. Now, Michael Knight actually sent me. I thought this was an interesting picture. Now, what am I playing on Facebook Live right now? What is that?
This is a picture of it's a natural landmark, and I for the name escapes me right now. It was in Puerto Rico, and I say was.
Yeah.
They just had a couple of 6.0 earthquakes that struck them the last 48 hours or so, and so that now looks like this.
And let me get up the other image where the hole has opened up completely.
Yeah, it just has completely ruined it. And one thing that you can do to verify that this is indeed that spot is you see that little tree, that little lone tree that's standing up there. Well, if you flip back to the other page, you can see where that lone tree stands on the landmark as it existed before. It was right up on top of it, and it is just completely gone and just to terrible damage. This is something that Puerto Ricans, of course, have known and loved for generations and generations, and even mariners will use that as a landmark as they get around that point. No more.
Yeah. Well, it's a geological event. Earthquakes will happen, and that's one of the things. I can't remember what it is now. There's one of those state quarters where the image is this mountain face. We've got Two Lovers Point, and in the states there's I want to say Montana or Wyoming or something like that, where they've got a mountain's face that looks like a guy, right?
Right.
And eventually, they had a geological event as well, and it's virtually eliminated any trace of that guy, the old man's face on the coin.
Yeah, nature, nature always takes it back. By the way, that's called Punta Ventana. So it's the window point, basically, is what it's in Spanish. And so that's what that was. But yeah, no, nature is always going to take it back, and that's just something we have to deal with.
6:20 in the morning, and so sorry for those guys. We've got our own issues here at the radio station we can talk about in here on Guam. Where do we need to start? Oh, we start with these guys here, the real stars of the show.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see the troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name.
Everybody is online this morning, starting with the top 10. James Howard, JB, St. Nicholas, our super shopper, is out there online. Rico Blancaflor, Ismael, and Ismael, you might need to pop that. Ismael put a poem up there about Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, and unfortunately, it's off the screen now. So if you could do me a favor, Ismael, repost that so everybody can see it. John Ray Taitano is there. Marlou Bersaman is online. So is Nate Horn. James Lester Lonzo. Cousin Troy Torres is online. I think he started a viewing party, a watch party with this program on his channel. Thanks very much.
Oh, cool.
Certainly appreciate that. And then there's John Rages on the line this morning. I see our running buddy Doris is there. Lynn Vince, Borja Polino, Editha Camarillo, and Big Sister Shelley's online saying good morning, Mong and Mana. James Howard, Zonia Mayor needs a talk from the Godfather. That will settle all of the debts. Buddy Dennis Bensour is going to be in. Now, Dennis is coming in a little bit later on to the radio station.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Does that mean we get more breakfast pizza?
No, it's not breakfast
love
pizza
you,
today. Dennis, what was it? We were
Did he
talking
win a
about.
prize?
No, we were talking about those Doritos, the new Dorito chips yesterday.
Did he find some?
He didn't find exactly those Dorito chips, but there's another flavor that he's got that he's going to bring by the radio station about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And that's awesome. And there's Ken LG. Who else is playing around here? My Palauan brother, Yoichi Rangil, Umil Tutao. Good to have you on there. Candy Knudsen Guzman is online. I got Nick Prolosky is already there. James Attilig. Mark Cruz doing his wave here this morning. Denise Legaspi. That's Lady D up in Gigo. Carl L.G. Bloss. Brad Hewitt. All the way out in Texas, I believe. You're missing some great baseball over at the stadium. Guam got beat by the CNMI yesterday. I think that was 5-0. But they're playing again today, right? Is that the way it shakes out? Do you know?
No, they've got, and I'll have to. We're going to actually talk to Mark during sports about the particulars about the thing. But let's see, we've got Pohnpei versus Kosrae, yeah, and Guam takes on CNMI again today at 2 o'clock.
All right, got
now,
it.
these games are at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., which is different than what they because originally they were saying noon and 3 p.m. So for some reason they've moved it up to 10
We'll
and
find
2
out.
p.m.
We'll find out why that happened. And Ada Vasquez is online. Kelly Cruz in Buenoston, Manassas. Lillian Cruz is out there. I got Keenan McCausland out in Washington. George Martinez is online. And I got Anthony Chaco saying, good morning, everybody. It's good to have you there. James Schmidt, Michelle Diego Kitsatsu is online. Lillian Cruz, Ponce Ventana, and Ruinas del Faro, I think is what we were talking about here this morning. Appreciate the language lesson, Lillian. And Marie Sablon Trousseau. Juan Benitez, as I suppose that is Juan Carlos Benitez. And if it is Juan Carlos, heard an interesting rumor about you yesterday. Are you throwing your hat in the ring for congressman? Do I dare say, and so it begins? With
Would
the
that
races,
mean that the
all different
Republican Party
races?
didn't actually push Will Castro?
Then it's possible, and that's too bad because Will Castro is already sending out press releases where he's not referring to himself as senator anymore. He's a congressional nominee. I'll read that for you a little bit later
Well,
on.
is he speaking to the universe?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Randy Kruger's online. My buddy Kenny Williams.
Words are things.
He should just flip parties.
Glenn Anthony Lujan. How about Glenn? What are you doing there, buddy? Levon Guerrero Meno and Andre Bainham are online. My pal Dave Torrey is there. Tommy Barcinas. Hey, cuz. Nice to see you. Pat and Norma Jean is playing around, and so is my buddy Rick Leon. Good to have everybody online this morning for another rousing episode of the Ray Gibson Show with Montecito Tyron and Michael Knight. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about here. Don't panic on the gasoline. Do not panic on the gasoline. It's possible that here's what happened. I got let me put up a graphic here so that you can understand what's going on. And forget West Texas crude. We don't buy West Texas crude. Our gasoline prices aren't based on West Texas. Our gasoline prices are based on, excuse me, Tapis crude, which comes out of Singapore, Malaysia, however you want to refer to it as. So here's what happened over the last couple of days. West Texas crude, Singapore and Tapis was trading at about $74.11. Now that's up. I mean, I'd like to see Tapis in the mid to high 60s. So
Well, I remember seeing it in the 90s and up close
once
to 100.
upon a time,
yeah,
sure. So 74.11 is where it was at, say Friday last week. Now the numbers this morning are $75.95. It doesn't sound like it's that big of an increase, right? From 74.11 to 75.95. Here's the deal, though, is in between reports, it actually spiked. You take a look at where Tapis crude was. It had actually traded up around $77, almost $78. And at that point, which we didn't see here because the numbers are frozen when they do the reporting, usually in the beginning part of the week. But the guys at the gas stations see the numbers in real time. And when they saw it going at $77.90 for a barrel of Tapis crude, everybody said, push the buttons on the signs and take it up a dime. And so that's what happened. Now it's moving back down, and West Texas is also moving back down. So we take a look at that index here, and I don't have the graphic for that. In fact, I didn't have that graphic up on the screen, but you can see it if you're looking on the Facebook Live. You can see where it spiked, and now Tapis is starting to move back down. We'll see the same thing with West Texas crude, and I'll tell you why. This comes from the story on who is that? CNBC and their market reports. In fact, oil has sunk nearly 5% to under $60 a barrel now. West Texas crude $59.71 this morning. It was trading before at about $62.58. Everybody freaked out by what was going on in Iran, Middle East tensions, worldwide tensions.
Yeah,
oh my God, it's world. Did everybody get that feeling like it was going to be World War III about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday?
I had my TV on news all day long.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Now West Texas is gone back down to under $60. Why? According to CNBC, Trump says Iran, we're standing down in Iran in that Middle East fight. Yeah. So everybody sent the right messages, and there was enough of what Jerry Roberts was talking about yesterday. A little pause, a break in the action. I think everybody's had a chance to realize what was at stake here, and so we'll see what happens in the domestic channels over the course of the next couple of days.
Yeah, the fact is Iran just launched those missiles just to send a message that they could, and that was their quote-unquote retaliation, and we assessed the situation overnight. No one got killed. A little bit of stuff got damaged, mostly cows and farms and things like that. So, it was kind kind of it was taken for what it was. It was just optics, and so why respond to optics? There's no point in, responding.
Starting
in
World
such
War
crazy
III over
ways.
optics. Yeah, let's wait until we got something else to fight about. So we've got that news there, and that's good news. Tony, Annette, and Pinko add online, and so nice to see James and Stephanie Santiago. Good to have you there. Eunice Mendiola and Dominic Uggan, also in Washington State, watching the program. And Auntie Bennett Luan from over at Family Finance is online as well. 888-8255-888-TALK. So we got that. And let me just knock that out of the way. Prices of gas are up by a dime, but it would not surprise me as we watch tensions ease a little bit over the next couple of days if the gas companies were to take another look at it and say, oh yeah, maybe we push the button a little bit too early, let it ride for just a little bit longer, and see how it plays out. Now, as far as World War III and our own domestic issues around here is what the Guam Daily Post is referring to as bickering. Bickering. I like that. That's a fun word. It's not. It's fighting, and there's a sound. You can almost hear couples fighting, and so they're categorizing this scrap between Tina Rose Munoz Barnes and Michael St. Nicholas, hollering at each other like married people fight.
Yeah, you kind of imagine they're driving in the car. The wife gets out of the car and starts screaming at him, walks down the street.
I told you to take out the trash. I didn't take out the trash.
And then the guy chases her
Give me
down
that
the
ironing my
street.
clothes, honey. What's going on? I'm walking around. I got wrinkles in my shirt. What's the matter with you?
I'm not getting in the car.
Get in the car. Tina Barnes and Mike St. Nicholas. Where's the story?
Did they fight like this? I don't remember. While they were in the legislature.
I don't know that they were ever in the legislature. Well, maybe they were. Yeah. Early in Michael's senatorial career, I think they might have shared some space in there. So Mike says, Mike sends out the release yesterday, and we're going to try to get a hold of him. He is still in transit back to Washington D.C. We've been communicating on the WhatsApp and the Messenger and things like that, and he's going to try to call in the 7 o'clock hour and let me know what's going on. So it came out yesterday. He says, I knew this was going to happen. There's some grumbling by somebody over Bill 181, what is public law now. I have no idea what the number is, but what we're referring to around here is 181 in the Senate. And they're starting to ask some questions about, what's the big deal? But we don't know. I don't know who it was that made the observation, what the nature of their concerns are. So we're going to try to find that out this morning. Now, they were asking the folks over at Tina Rose Munoz Barnes' office yesterday what the heck they thought of it, and they said, this is their quote now, to date, the only member of Congress to complain about Bill 181 is Mike St. Nicholas. If H.R. 1365 is now facing danger in the Senate, maybe it's because he's so loudly complained about the smoke, no one can tell he started the fire.
That's Public Law 35-61.
35-61.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 35-61. Can we just call it 181? I think it's easier for everybody to remember the now hated Bill 181.
I think if you take those numbers, they somehow work out to 181.
Could be. And then, so the Speaker says, we will advocate. She's going to head to Washington, D.C. to advocate for the passage of H.R. 1365. Like the spirit of the tomorrow people, we will be resilient and keep trying. We can sit here and waste time, but for our signers, it's a race against time. To which Mike St. Nicholas has responded, Speaker, please stay home. I love that. That's just brilliant. No, just stay there. Don't come out here. You're just going to make it worse. He says, Speaker, please stay home. We are trying to contain the concern. Your presence will only call more attention to something we're trying to address through appropriate channels. I will inform you if your assistance will be helpful.
That's just a nice way for Mike to say, yeah, thanks, but you've done enough already.
Yeah, stop helping. I don't want your help anymore, please, guys. So that's where we are with that. Wheels are in motion. Airplanes in the air right now with at least one member of the House of Representatives winging his way back to Washington, D.C. to find out where in the Senate this leak is coming from. I got Rose Greeno online. My pal Renee Punzalan is there. Rai St. Nicholas, June Bells Carino, and Joe Cruz. That is the real Joe Cruz is online this morning. And one of my favorite listeners, and I love seeing her and hanging out with her and her husband, Therese Uggan Rigel, is online. She's in charge of making sure the kids are all clean and and dressed and ready for school.
Yes, that's our prima.
Conducting the ironing right now. There's Ed Massey saying, good morning, Guam, and half a day to everybody. So it's great to have everybody lined up on the Facebook Live. Comments, thoughts about what's going on. Facebook and many of the Facebook folks that I was reading up on yesterday with regard to this spat, the bickering between Mike and Tina, seemed to be on Mike's side. Seemed to be on Mike's side and seemed to be holding the legislature and the administration accountable, saying if H.R. 1365 goes south, or if there are continued delays in getting the federal response from the Treasury into checks into the hands of these survivors, it is now the fault of the legislature and the administration for meddling, if you will, into a process that Mike had already got underway. And in fact, there was unanimous consent behind the measure in the House, and it looked like it was a slam dunk in the Senate. So all of a sudden, Bill 181 comes up, 35-61, and now there seems to be somebody in the Senate side in Washington D.C. That is asking questions about maybe why there needs to be some kind of federal involvement. We'll watch. We'll see. You got comments. You got opinions on it. Love to see them on Facebook Live, so go ahead and do that. As I said, love to get your WhatsApps at 988-5874. Ooh, 6:34 in the morning, and we're late into it already, or as usual. Time for headlines with news from the Guam Daily Post. Here's Montesilva Tyron.
He hasn't said if he'll resign, but the Jotnya mayor has indicated that he will assign a municipal planning council from jail. Jesse Blas is being held in until his trial on bribery charges. The Jotnya village has been without a leader, and if and when a council is impaneled, members can handle duties of the mayor. The mayor's council has asked Blas to resign, though. The Senate has apparently now raised concern over Guam's H.R. 1365, which would allow for Treasury to pay out Guam's war claims. And Congressman Mike Sinicola says this is what he predicted would happen if the legislature and governor passed Bill 181. Sinicola is back in Washington, where he says he'll try and salvage his bill, which previously had full support in the House. The Speaker of the legislature has clapped back, saying that the only member of Congress to complain about Bill 181 is Mike Sinicola. If H.R. 1365 is in danger, it was him that started that fire. And GWA set to cut the ribbon today at the newly upgraded Umatic Maritza wastewater treatment plant. $21 million in upgrades were done to the 40-year-old plant that serves more than 500 customers down south. And those are some of your headlines from the Daily Post. Pick up a copy of the paper, log on to their website at postguam.com.
I've actually seen that new facility out in Toguan. Yeah.
Does it smell good?
You can't smell it.
Nice.
You cannot smell it. I mean, it's not too far off this. You know where the concrete boat is on the Melissa side? So it's right around.
Okay.
So it's right around.
I didn't know that.
Right past the turn. It's down at Toguan. There's a little outfall into the bay, and me and some friends happened on it literally accidentally. And had no idea. It was just all of a sudden.
Don't tell me you went swimming.
No. Okay. Oh, you don't want to go swimming in that stuff. But all of a sudden, it kind of opens up, and there's this beautiful piece of GWA infrastructure down there. Everything is brand new. It looks
very nice.
And you couldn't smell it. It's not. I mean, you can't imagine what's going in there, but you could not smell the fact that they were doing some kind of treatment on the water down there. There's some kind of magic. I don't understand it. We'll see if we can get a hold of Miguel Berdalio or
because
Heidi.
I was part of the bond borrowing trip that one of those bond borrowings said it was like $160 million that was borrowed for the system upgrade in 2013 that I went on in New York. And so it's kind of cool that, I was part of this. I built that wastewater treatment plant.
That's all with her bare hands. With her bare hands.
Name it after me.
We'll see if we can get some players on the line to talk about all of that stuff. 6:37 is iConnect time. Run to iConnect and ask them about saving some money in 2020. They can do it with mobile, internet, even push-to-talk plans.
The holidays are here and the shopping frenzy begins. Protect yourself with these safe shopping tips. Consider shopping only with retailers you trust, or do some research on other retailers you aren't familiar with before proceeding. Don't save your credit card information on retail websites, and never make payments when using public Wi-Fi. Switch to cellular data or wait until you get to a secure network to make your purchases. These safe holiday banking tips are brought to you by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
Is it already 6:37 in the morning? Yeah, it is already 6:37 in the morning. Time to take a look at the traffic gizmo. Usually this early, there's not a whole lot out there, but it looks like we're seeing things build up a little bit more. Expect some slowing down of traffic right around where the radio station is across from DPW and into Kmart and JFK. Classes first bell, what, 6:45, something like that. Should be closing up before too much longer. Also, traffic moving into, is that 8, 10, and 16? Yeah, that is 8, 10, and 16. Northbound, though, on Route 8, just before you get to that intersection, you can expect some delays through there. And the intersection of 10 and 15 is also looking kind of ruddy this morning. If you're headed out of that around Price Elementary and making your way towards the University of Guam, you might see some delays there. A little bit of traffic coming out of Route 10 on to... wait, hold on. Let me look at this right. From Route 4 turning towards Route 10. Expect some delays for people trying to get into the Mangilao a little bit earlier this morning. Getting into downtown again, no major problems. Don't see anything at Guam High or Navy Hospital, and it's running smooth down at Big Navy and Sumai. So 6:39, that's right now traffic here on The Point.
Want to grow your business? Start a new venture? Or stay ahead of the competition? You can. With Docomo Pacific Smart Business Solutions tailored to your specific needs and ambitions, you can do it all. Partner with a network with best-in-class network coverage, state-of-the-art communication platforms, and a team dedicated to providing you with premium support. Call 688-2677 to start your journey to success today. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
People come to Chili's for a million reasons. For happy hour, date night, birthdays, or just because it's Tuesday. But if you ask us what brings people into our restaurants time and time again, is that Chili's moment. You know the one. When you eat so much you want to fall asleep at the table, or when you meet up with good friends and it turns into a party. At Chili's, moments like these matter, and we want to make more of them. So there may be a million reasons to Chili's, but all you really need is one. Chili's, savor the moment in our new location in the Tumon Sands Plaza, second floor.
The Ray Gibson Show. Any speaker, anytime. Morning talk that matters.
Yeah, the cosmos and the geologies and all of that stuff, and the way the sun works its way around the planet. Got a picture on Facebook Live now of the sky shot over at Pam Duvall's place. Let me see if I can click that button and get that up on the screen. And that's what it looks like up in Jigo as of a couple of minutes ago. Sunrise breaking over northern Guam. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And now let me get you another picture of a different kind of a cascade and a different view. My buddy Nate Horn sent this one in, and this is Dead Horse, Alaska, and it looks like it's either sunrise or sunset, but the truth of the matter is that's 12 noon, straight up. That's what it looks like at noon, and that might be as bright as it was going to get, and it has to do with the placement of the sun and the tilt of the earth and all of that stuff.
And just another scientific fact that flat earthers simply cannot explain.
Right? At any rate, 888-825-5888-TALK. Love seeing these pictures and the view of different things around the world. I think that's one of the greatest things about Facebook and WhatsApp and the social media is the way that it is kept us all interconnected. Unfortunately, you got to worry about the nature of the information that gets passed around. One of the sad truths is that there's a whole lot of media out there, and everybody trying to get to first base on the story before anybody else does. So when you hit Twitter yesterday, when I hit Twitter yesterday to keep track of what was going on in Iran and Iraq and all the different stories that were floating around, it was amazing how much information was out there, and also kind of amazing how much of it was just wrong or presumptive in an attempt to be first to lead the news on some of these stories, and some of the sources that were being quoted on it were rather dubious. If you were on Twitter yesterday, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Excuse me, 6:42 in the morning. So where do we get to go today? What's on we talked about the squabble in Washington, D.C. Looks like somebody at the Senate is looking opposite at Bill 1365 out there that would close a loophole that was left in the original war claims, the World War II Loyalty Recognition Act. And frankly, we all thought we were at the end of the rainbow there. We thought we were, you saw the light at the end of the tunnel on this. There were a whole bunch of survivors that got out there, gave again their testimony of the atrocities they suffered during the war. And in many cases, they were adjudicated. The Claims Commission took a look at it and said, absolutely, that happened, and you are entitled to more compensation out of these Section 30 dollars the Treasury is going to be holding on to for you. And unfortunately, there was no link in the World War II Loyalty Recognition Act that allowed for the dollars to go from the Treasury in check forms to the claimants. So we knew that was going to be a problem towards the end of Madeline Berdalio's administration in Congress. And Mike Nicholas says, no, I got it. I'll take care of it. He introduced very quickly 1365. It made its way through the House, and it has made its way now through the Senate. And it appears, though, that there is somebody looking at what they've got in front of them saying, well, wait a second, why do we need to do this here with 1365 if you've got a solution on Guam? Why do we need to do this? We got Bill 181 that turned into 35-61, and so now it looks like Guam is going to be poised to pay these checks. All right, well, then fine, you can do that, but there's still going to need to be some kind of a mechanism through this memorandum of understanding, which we still don't have a draft from. We'd checked on this with Tina's office, and they are referring us now to the governor's office and saying, well, the MOU is not a Tina deal. The MOU is now a governor's office deal. So if you want to see a draft, then you have to go to the governor's office. And Troy said, I'd have to look up what Troy said. It was something colorful on the speaker's chat page.
It's always colorful.
I'll see if I can share that with you a little bit later on. So that's what we've got. That's where that is this morning. Mike Nicholas, the congressman, is on his way back to Washington D.C. He's on one of those little short jumps from Newark into D.C. into Dulles or something like that. So once he's done with that, I got my fingers crossed. We may hear from him maybe in the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. He said he's going to try to call in the 7 o'clock hour if it's at all possible for him to do that. Might be a lot of people with crinkling foreheads this morning going, oh no, the price of gas has gone up. It's now $4.25 a gallon.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are doing it, and now
425.9999.
So you're gonna hear Mana almost sincerely, feeling for people buying gasoline at $4.25 a gallon because you get to go to the auto port.
Like $2.64.
I wish they had just stopped at $4.20. Then at least it would have been a cool price.
Then we could have made jokes about it or something like that. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to. So hold on. If you don't need to put gasoline in the car right now, I wouldn't freak out about it and start hoarding it or anything like that. Use the gas as you need to. I'm of the opinion that it might be one of these things where it comes back down here before too much longer. But I don't suspect that it's going to be rising much higher than it is. Tapas went up. It spiked at almost $78 a barrel, but now back down to $75.95. And if it follows,
and everyone's really about the same price at the pump. It's not like where you go to the States where you have side-by-side gas stations.
Actual competition?
There's real competition between the competing gas stations.
People always ask, why is that, Mana? Why is it? Somebody in the government
It's called collusion.
But there are very, very strong federal laws, almost as strong as the cockfighting laws that prevent these guys from getting together. If they do that, it's a violation. Somebody from Justice is going to come and put handcuffs on guys. Ken LG says, Ray, check your WhatsApp. Well, it's always entertaining when I get something like that from Ken LG. I think I know what the nature of the most recent. Okay, it's an MP4 you want me to play. Let me see if I can. I need to preview that before I get it on the air. But we'll see what Ken LG's got. He did send me a graphic though of what things are like over at the legislature. The group shot of the 35th Guam legislature, and it's an old record cover for those of you that remember record covers of the Mothers of Invention album cover. It's hard to make out, but basically in the drum, it's supposed to look like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah.
That Beatles album, but in the drum in the center, there's a line that says, "We're in it for the money."
Yeah, I'm afraid our legislature just is not nearly this cool.
No, not as cool. There's no Frank Zappa coolness with the 37th Guam legislature. At any rate, where else do we get to go here? One of the other interesting stories is, and how many months has it been? I'm trying to sort it out in my head. What is it, 3 or 4 months now since Mayor Blas of Zotnia has been put behind bars? August of of last year when the Fed came through and put him behind bars. Since then, he has been kind of just in an acting capacity as a mayor. He hasn't been able to go to work, hasn't been able to go home because he's sitting in federal detention right now. And we're all waiting for a shoe to drop. But the shoe that we want to drop continues to evade us. The shoe that we want to drop here is for him to resign his position as Jotnya mayor so that there can be an election for a new mayor of Jotnya. But you want to talk about the resistance. Just no, I'm not going to. First of all, the money apparently hasn't run out yet. He's apparently still got some salary money coming in from his job
Or some kind of money.
As the mayor, and I see. I thought that was supposed to run out like in December, something like that, which would put, I think, a little bit of pressure on the guy to make a decision one way or the other, maybe to the benefit of the village, to get out of the way and have another election. But he hasn't done that. One of the other things was everybody said, well, you know, if any other village, if the guy was out incarcerated or incapable of doing his job, at least we've got a municipal planning council. But Jotnya never got a municipal planning council together before this guy got put behind bars. And so now it looks like there's not going to be a resignation, but he is going to be making appointments to the municipal planning council from beyond the mayor's office.
From behind bars.
From behind bars.
And so it makes me wonder, who might he select for this panel?
Maybe if it were me, I would select Hiding, is the guy that's running around with the petitions. I would put him for sure. I think there's a couple of other people. It might be relatives in there as well. One of the points that Ken Leon Guerrero was making in social media yesterday that I got a giggle out of was, here's the thing: is we've got this guy behind bars. He's going to appoint people to the municipal planning council. How do we know that they are clean?
Right, exactly.
How do we know that there's allegations, very serious allegations against the mayor of Jotnya, and anybody that he becomes associated with while these allegations are still up in the air because we haven't yet gone to court. I think that could be cause for concerns from among people.
Well, it was concerns.
I think Ken LG is asking for these people, whoever it is that gets appointed, to be drug tested.
Well, there's concern enough for the judge in his case to ensure that some of the witnesses are protected, because she believes that he's got this reach in the community that people's lives may be in danger.
Well, it's certainly no sense of urgency one way or the other. Charles Eckert's online. I got Ike Iseki chiming in. Ken LG's writing on Facebook.
That's my party, Charles Eckert.
He's our beau, too. If he does not resign, says Ken, Tina Munoz-Barnes should have and could have called a special session and acted. But since it does not involve a massive and retroactive pay raise for senators, she refuses to act for the safety of the people. Details are in the MP4. Like I said, I'll see if I can preview that and play some of that on the radio before too much longer. Ismail saying, Tina Munoz-Barnes, this must be the poem. What is the deal? Don't you have a heart? Can't you feel? Your actions are as slimy as a slithery eel, and you're 2 fries short of a Happy Meal. What is your purpose? Why are you here? Can't you take a hint and just disappear? You, Lou and Josh, aren't the musketeers. You're just the puppets, and they the puppeteers. They have you thinking, all for one and one for all. But when it's done, you'll be the one to fall. They'll leave you hanging, holding the ball. And on Michael Phillips, you'll use your one call. Open your eyes, stop being blind, quit being a witch, and to the voters, be kind. It's clear your priorities are all misaligned, so do us a favor and just resign. Thank you, Ismail. Cousin Troy now has nominated Ismail as our poet laureate for Guam. Chris Abalencha asking again, who came in second for the Jotnya mayor, see if they still want the job. Unfortunately, Chris, I don't think it works like that. The guy won the election fair and square, and whoever came in second is just the first among the batch of losers, and that name is going to be lost to history unless somebody looks it up. But there is that I'm aware of no Guam Election Commission rules that would say, well, if something happens to the mayor, it's not like a beauty contest.
I'm down to just bring Kenjo back. I miss Kenjo.
Well, take a look at The Office holistically. You know,
Love
I'm
that guy.
37 years old, and it takes 37 years to become 37 years old. Interesting the way that his perspective is going on. Leslie LG is online, and so is my buddy Joe Leasea-Longi and a bunch of other people that are chiming in this morning on the program.
That's not true if you're traveling near the speed of light.
What's that?
That it takes 37 years to turn 37 years old. If you're traveling near the speed of light, it would actually take you longer to get 37 years because time has slowed down for you relative to everyone else.
Thanks, Einstein. I appreciate that. The level of thought process TMB exercises is akin to a 5-year-old deciding to color within the lines or outside the lines. And that's a direct quote from Jess Mendiola. As I said, you know, when you start taking a look at the write-ups on the social media and what people are saying about this, generally, most people have lined up squarely behind Congressman Mike Nicholas. And not just me. I mean, it might be one of those, what Jerry Roberts refers to as, you know, verification, opinion verification. You ignore everything that runs counter to what your sense and what your sentiments are, and only gravitate towards the people that go along with you in the way you think. But it just seems to me that most of the write-ups, most of the things that I saw on Facebook when you know, in reference to the story here about the bickering between Tina and Mike, everybody seems to be on Mike's side.
I think fundamentally everybody understands that Guam has no business paying war reparations for things done to people on Guam because we didn't do it.
Yep.
Actually, America shouldn't either, but that's the deal they made with Japan at the end of the war. So America should be paying this, and the fact we should not be meddling into it locally.
That was going back, and I remember the conversations. That was the best deal that Congressman Berdalio was able to get. And if you take a look back at the record, you know, there's a guy lauded as a major hero, and for some people, I suppose he was. But it was Senator John McCain that put the screws on Guam and put Madeline in a very, very uncomfortable position. There had been obviously plans to have the war reparations paid by the federal government of the United States, and it looked like there was a point where it looked like it was actually going to happen, but unfortunately the deal went south. John McCain basically had Madeline over a barrel on this, and she made the one good deal that she could come up with, which was World War II loyalty recognitions would be paid out of Section 30 money. And basically, we all back here on Guam said, well, that's kind of a lousy deal. That's our money. That's Guam's dough. So we're using Guam money to pay the World War II loyalty recognition. But like I said, it was the best deal that she could make with then Senator John McCain at the time. Not the only time that McCain never screwed Guam. He also screwed us on the Chinese visa waiver program and the Russia visa waiver program, which looked like it had legs as well. But you know, it was always like McCain had it out for Guam when he was dealing with Madeline.
But it kind of makes you wonder why the Senate would have a concern, because we're still using Guam money to pay Guam war claims.
Mm-hmm.
So
because we're going to be going back to them to get reimbursed. So we're going to use...
And they'll reimburse it with Guam's Section 30.
There's no link for that. That's supposed to be part of the Memorandum of Understanding, or it might require another House resolution, because there is no link. There's nothing in concrete right now that says that if Lulian Guerrero writes a check out to, Tun Maria for her World War II suffering and the loyalty thereof, there's nothing that says that money is going to be recompensed back to Guam from the Treasury. It's the same loophole that we're already stuck in,
right.
And that's a concern. Then the other concern, of course, is what's going to be happening with these World War II loyalty folks. I mean, so we say that Tun Maria is going to be getting a check for $5,000, $10,000, or whatever from the federal government. So Auntie Lou writes a check to Tun Maria. Tun Maria is supposed to sign some kind of an affidavit that says if and when the federal check comes into her, that she pays back the government of Guam with it. And
gotcha.
And so it's at least that's my understanding of it. Again, nobody that I'm aware of has ever seen this MOU that is supposed to lubricate the process so that, according to Adelup, they'll be able to start paying these restitutions by the end of the month of January. We'll watch. We'll see what happens. 6:57 in the morning. For those of you got nothing better to do and are concerned about crime, and there's all kinds of reasons to be concerned about crime. Told you about that guy yesterday, and the magistrate Desperate report. Walking around the village drunk, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sees a pretty lady in her own yard and makes his way towards her and does some criminal fondling of her. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt, but she was able to call the police. Police called the guy, and he fessed up to it. Yeah, sorry, man, I'm drunk, and she was pretty, and it got away from me. That kind of thing that is going on. There's another story, and Troy was covering this on Candid News yesterday with aspersions to the police department, because there was and there's video that supports it. There's this guy, I think his name is Castro, and he goes banging on his neighbor's front door. Did you see the video?
That?
He goes and bangs on the neighbor's front door, and then takes this MMA stance, like as soon as somebody opens the door, they're going to get punched in the head. And somebody else comes over, calms things down. There's a real Peyton Place story behind why they are angry with each other that involves women and relationships, number one. But number two, it just feels, you get that random sense that something weird could happen to you at any moment in time.
I tell you, if my surveillance camera captures somebody with that kind of stance outside my door, I'm not going to open it.
Well, you open it with you shoot through the door. You get the gun and you shoot right through the door. If you're concerned about crime, especially down south, Jim Moylan is going to be working with the mayor's office tonight. There is a community forum on public safety that will be taking place at the Malesso Senior Center to discuss various bills and issues associated with public safety. It's an opportunity for you to get together, express your thoughts and on the legislation, make recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. The forum begins at 6 o'clock. Public safety, he says, cannot be fixed overnight, but you're invited to share your thoughts on public safety issues that matter most to you and learn about some bills that could strengthen our efforts to provide a much-needed level of safety in our community. Among the things that residents of Malesso should be able to do here is ring up whatever senators you know at the 35th Guam Legislature and ask them to actually take a look at some of these measures that Jim Moylan has proposed in the last year or so. Many of them could resolve some of the issues, but because it's Jim Moylan, a Republican, a member of the Republican minority over at the legislature, the Democratic majority doesn't generally give him much time of day on his measures. It's sad, it's unfortunate, and I think it's going to be cause for many people to be unseated in this upcoming election. 7 o'clock in the morning, or darn close to it. It's the Ray Gibson Show on 93.3. This is KUSG. Hagåtña Montesilva's got news on the other side of Fox News. We'll get an idea of what's going on around the nation and the world responses to what's happening in Iran and the Middle East. That's all ahead. Jerry Roberts got the extra point and more ahead here on the Ray Gibson Show. This is The Point.
This is a Fox News alert. Warning sirens in Baghdad. I'm Lisa Brady. Fox's Trey Yingst is in the Iraqi capital.
We've heard at least one explosion off to my left in Baghdad's green zone. Sirens near the U.S. Embassy then went off, reporting incoming, indicating that either a rocket or a mortar was triggering the sirens around the embassy area. We have not yet been able to confirm what triggered those sirens.
There have been concerns that Iran-backed militias could disrupt any potential peace efforts. This just hours after President Trump offered a possible path to de-escalation.
The United States is ready to embrace peace with all who seek it.
Earlier today, saying the U.S. military is prepared, but that he doesn't have to use it, hitting Iran instead with more sanctions after last night's Iranian missile strike on U.S. targets in Iraq. The president emphasizing the damage was minimal and that no Americans or Iraqis were killed. We expect to hear today from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo as well. He's one of the officials who's been briefing lawmakers on the U.S. airstrike that killed Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani.
I am convinced even more than ever, and I was fully convinced that this was the right move to save American lives on an imminent basis, and they did the right thing.
Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger says there was clear and present danger, but many Democrats say they remain unconvinced it was necessary. And Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar accuses the president of creating more tension in the region.
And this is a man who is both an arsonist and a fireman. He starts a crisis, then he wants to create the appearance of wanting to solve it.
Democrats are still pushing a war powers resolution designed to limit the president's actions without congressional approval. Meantime, Wall Street's been rallying, the Dow up 162 at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Go sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Recapping those late reports of warning sirens heard near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, along with the sound of an explosion. There's been no confirmation yet, though, of what, if anything, may have happened. U.S. officials did have advanced warning about Iran's missile attack last night. Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon.
A senior U.S. official says that Iranian officials warned Iraq ahead of time about the pending missile strike because Tehran did not want to kill Iraqi forces. Iraqi officials later warned their American military counterparts, but by the time the Iraqi warning came, the American military had already known for hours that Iran was planning to launch the missile strike last night. They even knew the approximate time of the attack, one official told us.
Sources credit a combination of intercepted chatter in cyberspace and layers of surveillance, including satellites. An impeachment trial in the Senate overshadowed for now by the tensions with Iran, but there are suggestions a trial could get underway soon.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has not offered a timetable for sending 2 articles of impeachment to the Senate, but Democrats in that chamber expect it will happen soon.
My expectation is that we'll be able to start this trial next week.
Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy says just because Republican leaders have not agreed to additional witnesses requested by Democrats does not mean the Senate won't hear testimony.
I will choose to have faith that we can convince a handful of Republicans to vote with us.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he has the 51 votes needed to set up parameters for a trial that would delay any decision on additional witnesses until after arguments are made. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, stocks finish higher, a record day for the NASDAQ, closing above 9,100. The Dow up 162 at the closing bell. It had been higher during the session, finishing around 28,745. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Mescla Tomorrow Fusion Bistro in the Grand Plaza Hotel in Tumon is now introducing an at-table all-you-can-eat breakfast menu from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday and 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Sunday. Enjoy some quality time with your friends and family with some of your favorite local cuisine, from their waffle, hotcakes, and French toast station to their eggs and omelet station and a variety of scrumptious desserts. Weekends at Mescla Bistro in the Grand Plaza Hotel just got hotter. New year, new menu. Call 969-2652 for reservations. Some restrictions apply.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in already? Those high-interest credit cards at 16, 18, even 24%? Well, we have a New Year's solution for you. A Bank Pacific personal loan with rates as low as 4.65% to pay off those expensive credit cards. It's easy, it's fast, and it's as low as 4.65% APR.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
We buy a homeowner's policy and never give it another thought until something happens. Life brings changes, and our coverage needs can change. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
7 o'clock news brought to you by Horizon Properties.
A off a day and good morning at 7:06. I'm Ana Silva Tyron with some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Jotnya Mayor Jesse Blas didn't say he was going to resign, but he has indicated that he'll assign members to the Jotnya Municipal Planning Council from his jail cell. Mayor Jesse Blas has been in jail since being arrested in August on charges of bribery in connection with a drug operation that was taking place in his village. His trial is not set to take place until February, and because he hadn't previously selected a planning council, Jotnya Village has been left without a village leader. According to the Mayor's Council Executive Director Angel Sablan, they are just waiting for word from his attorney on his selection for the council members. The council, once in place, will handle all the duties of the mayor in his absence. Blas has not said when he will choose the council members, though. Ultimately, his colleagues would rather have him step down and allow for another mayor to be elected. There's also been action in the community to have him recalled. Blas is scheduled to appear back in court on January 22nd. His trial is set to begin with jury selection on February 4th. The back and forth between the legislature and Guam's congressmen continues. It was last week that the administration signed Bill 181 into law that would allow for payments of war claims to be made out of local coffers. But just as Congressman Mike Nicholas warned, the bill's passage may have adversely impacted his efforts to pass a bill in the Senate to allow the Treasury Department to cut checks to Guam. Nicholas says he received word that there is now concern with H.R. 1365, which had previously had full support in the House. But in a written response, the Speaker of the legislature retorts, to date, the only member of Congress to complain about Bill 181 is Mike Nicholas. Tina Munya Barnes says if H.R. 1365 is now facing a danger in the Senate, maybe it's because he so loudly complained about the smoke and no one can tell that he started the fire. Mixed martial art fighter Ricky Camp was to have appeared in the Superior Court yesterday for his drug case, but his hearing has been pushed back to January 13th as the defense waits for documents. The prosecution has said that it submitted pretrial discovery documents yesterday. Through defense attorney Clyde Lemon said he's only received a disc of a grand jury proceeding. Camp has pleaded not guilty to drug importation charges after he allegedly received 5 pounds of methamphetamine mailed to Guam. More news after this.
Rent, lease. What does Horizon do for you? Here's a clue. Advertising, marketing, screening, inspecting, instructing, leasing and signing, collecting and complying, inquiring and assessing, coordinating, repairing, renewing, enforcing, evicting, moving, cleaning, rekeying, communicating. Do it yourself and you'll find it taxing. We work hard to keep the vacancies low, so at the end of the month, you collect the dough. Proven and trusted. Horizon Properties. We do it all. 777-7792.
The holidays are here and the shopping frenzy begins. Protect yourself with these safe shopping tips. Consider shopping only with retailers you trust or do some research on other retailers you aren't familiar with before proceeding. Don't save your credit card information on retail websites and never make payments when using public Wi-Fi. Switch to cellular data or wait until you get to a secure network to make your purchases. These safe holiday banking tips are brought to you by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
A man who was indicted after he was allegedly found in possession of nearly 3 pounds of methamphetamine that was mailed in a package from California has pleaded not guilty in the district court. Richard Gibson appeared before Magistrate Judge Joaquin Manabusin to be arraigned. Through his attorney, Gaspin denied the charges of attempted possession of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute and conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Gapison was arrested outside of the Barragata post office back in December and was allegedly found in possession of nearly 3 pounds of meth that was mailed to him in a package from California. He also reportedly told authorities then that another package had been received a few months earlier, also containing about 3 pounds of meth. From the legislature, the community will be called to a public safety town hall meeting this evening. The town hall meeting will be held at the Maritzo Senior Citizen Center starting at 6 o'clock. This by Senator Jim Moylan. He will be asking people to come together so they could discuss various bills that have been introduced and issues associated with public safety. Again, that will begin at 6 o'clock in the Maritzo Senior Center. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, the committee chaired by Senator Therese Terlahi will hold an oversight hearing. That oversight hearing will be on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Again, that starts at 2 this afternoon at the Guam Congress Building in Agana. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
I got partly sunny skies, breezy with isolated showers, northeast winds up to about 25 miles an hour, decreasing a bit overnight. Highs today about 86 degrees, overnight lows should be about 76 degrees. Mark the sunset tonight at 6:08. Sunrise this morning was at 6:46. We'll see the same thing happening about the same time tomorrow. Now, with all of the additional breezes, like I said, 15 to 25 miles an hour, it's kicking things up along the shoreline, so there's a high surf advisory in effect until 6 tonight along north-facing reefs. High risk of rip currents through Friday afternoon along north and east-facing reefs as well. So be very, very careful when you get out there if you're going to be doing some swimming on the other side of the reef. Just not recommended. 7:12, and I got Jerry Roberts in the studio. Jerry, note from Michael Nicholas, the congressman will be calling in just a few minutes, and now Michael Knight from the Points Weather Center going to give us an idea of what's happening with the weather radar and the satellite imagery. Go.
Yeah, and in the forecast, we talk about decreasing winds this evening, and they're only going to decrease just a little bit. We're still looking at 15 to 20 in the overnight hours, so there will still be a nice breeze as we sleep right on through it. Looking at the radar right now, it looks like a good portion of showers actually more to the south of us at this point, and that's just the trade wind stuff, little bobbles and weaves in the trade wind flow. Looking here at the satellite, we do see actually quite a bit of clouds over the top of us, but those are mostly middle and upper level clouds, not a whole lot of rain associated with them. What this may do, though, it may provide some cover so that it doesn't get so hot this afternoon. So our daytime highs might actually be a little less than they were yesterday, but the weather will be about the same with just a nice breeze blowing and the occasional shower running through. And I'll check the weather discussion when they get it out and see if they're actually talking about any more rain for us today. But overall, should be a nice day.
I got you. 7:13 or so in the morning. That's news and weather together here on The Point.
It's hard to believe, but Security Title is 20 years old. Reaching this milestone is a clear testament to the hard work of our employees, who are as passionate about our work as we are about our community. We are most grateful for the realtors, lenders, attorneys, investors, and the buyers and sellers we serve. They are the reason our doors have been open for 20 years. Security Title looks back with gratitude for the past 20 years and looks forward with optimism to the next 20. Thank you, Guam.
Gotcha. Portions of the Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by APL. It's American President Lines, global presence with a local home. Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for your specialty care needs. Got a hybrid car? You know, you got to plug those hybrids into something, right? And that could put a additional charge on your electric bill. Well, the folks over at Nanbo want to help you take care of all of that. So here's the deal. Give them a call at 477-9754 and have them tell you all the details you need to find out how they could put $350 towards your next power bill for being a conscientious hybrid car driver. And if you got $5 in your pocket, get two of your faves at Wendy's. It's the 2 for $5 deal. They got the Dave's single spicy chicken sandwich or 10-piece nuggets. Make it a chicken day. Get the sandwich and the nuggets. That's right. Pick any two for just $5. Hands down, the best value on Guam. Stop by and get your 2 for $5 deal today at Wendy's.
It's the Ray Gibson Show. Call now. 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
You know, I knew it was going to be a short trip, and unfortunately didn't have a chance to get together with Mike and his team beer summiting. He had business to do over at the legislature with the delivery of the State of the Congress address before them on Monday evening, and then practically immediately getting on an airplane bound back for Washington, D.C. Apparently there are wrinkles now as we move forward with 1365. Congressman Mike Nicholas, good morning. Welcome to the Ray Airwaves, buddy.
Good morning, Ray. Yeah, I literally just got out of the airport, so we'll definitely get together when I get back to Guam. I'm hoping it'll be before the end of the month, but between now and then, we got work to do out here.
Oh, absolutely. And now, yesterday afternoon, as I'm sitting around waiting for the aircon guy to show up at the house, I got a note from you and your office outlining the idea, not a whole lot by way of details, but outlining the idea that there might be a wrinkle now in the Senate as you move forward with 1365. Already passed the House, unanimous consent over in the House, and fast-tracked to make it through the Senate. Has something happened in Washington, D.C. that has jeopardized that fast track?
Well, what has us really concerned, Ray, is there's nothing that's changed with the bill that we've already moved through the House's hands, and it already kind of went through the wash on the Senate side. There's a minor change that was made maybe a month and a half ago, and then it got rewashed, and everything was okay.
Okay.
We're coming back, and they're saying, now is wanting to consult on the matters.
You're breaking up a little bit, and I'm not sure why. It's the nature of an international call, but could you repeat the last line?
Of Bill 181, and so we're kind of walking into this saying, okay, let's see what's going to unfold here. But like I said, we cleared this thing several times over, and the only thing that's changed is the passage of the local law. So I'm really hoping that what I've been worried about is not coming to fruition.
There are concerns around here that there are, and unfortunately, there was some breakups in the conversation in what you were talking about. Could you bring this back from where we were talking about the House and the Senate? And there were a couple of variations on it, but those have all cleared the hurdles now. But specifically, what's the nature of the wrinkle in Washington, D.C. that has you concerned?
That's where I need to go in and find out. The way the Senate works is that they don't kind of broadcast what the problems are, because we try to resolve them so that we don't, things don't get too messy. And so I'm heading over there. I'm going to be finding out, hopefully by today, if not tomorrow, what the concern is and whether or not the Senate internally is able to kind of talk it through. But as of right now, because a concern has been raised and a consult has been requested, it's put 1365 on pause, at least for today and maybe for tomorrow. So the unanimous circumstances we were hoping for is not there at this time, and we're hoping to be able to get that back on track.
Are you concerned at all that the happenings and events in the Middle East may be cause for delay in the review of 1365?
No, there's no correlation whatsoever, and so when a consult is requested on a particular bill, it has to do specifically with that bill. They wouldn't have any kind of pause put in place for any kind of outside issues that are unrelated to the substance of the nature of the legislation.
All right. So for my clarity, I'm sorry, Mike. For my clarity, a consult has been requested on 1365.
That's correct, and that basically means that somebody has a concern, and we need to make sure we clear that concern in order to keep us on track for unanimous consent.
And do we know who has expressed the concern and who has requested the consult?
Not at this time. Like I said, the Senate, this was probably the part where I broke up. The Senate does not broadcast the particular individual necessarily, and they don't broadcast the particular issue. They kind of keep that very close to their vest, that we can try and get these things resolved without it, calling attention to any particular member or any particular issue, and unless they really take a stand and say, yeah, absolutely not. So we're not there yet, and I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to push it through.
All right, so it's still premature to say that the consultation request is linked to Bill 181, but it looks like it could be, because that's the only thing that has changed recently is the passage of Bill 181 into Public Law 35-61.
Yeah, what I was mentioning earlier before I was breaking up was that HR 1365 already went through an initial review process, and it already cleared the Senate in that initial review. There was one issue that they had that they already resolved, and everybody came back and said, okay, we're all good. And so nothing's changed between that time and now, except for the passage of 181. And so with that being the only variable on the table, I'm just hoping that we're not facing down that issue. And what I'm wondering about is, I know that one of our citizen activists on Guam FOIA'd the administration for all their communications with the Treasury with respect to an MOU.
Yes.
And I think that the response that they got back was that there was no communications available. And so if no communication was happening with Treasury prior to passing 181, then that means that any communications that they may have initiated since then might have caused Treasury to begin reaching back to their respective committees of jurisdiction, saying, hey, they're asking about this now, and that might actually be causing everybody to say, hey, well, why are these questions being raised, and why is this new thing materializing? Let's try to figure this out. So that's all things that are potentially in motion, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get this thing cleared up.
Yeah. Well, it's tricky. Now, I know who you're talking about. It's Ken Leon Guerrero that put the FOIA in with the governor's office requesting communications or copies of the communications with regard to the World War II Loyalty Recognition Act. My understanding is that he was turned down on all of those requests, and that I'm aware of. I was told that there is a draft of the MOU. We have been referred to the governor's office by Chirag Bajwani over at Tina Rose Munya Barnes' office, and that I know of. There's no response to anybody else House's request for a copy of that draft proposal to the Treasury.
Yeah, my concern is if that draft was only circulated in the last couple of days or weeks, then that means that it's possible Treasury was never even engaged to begin with. And so if they're only seeing a draft now, they're definitely going to reach back to their committees of jurisdiction to, get their take on something like that. And, that's exactly the thing that we were hoping to avoid. It's the whole reason why we wanted to kind of have a unanimous momentum going into this, so that everybody's kind of like, okay, well, this is one of those, automatic things. But if there's questions being raised now about different steps that need to be taken, that's exactly the kind of activity that could really put a wrinkle into 1365.
Well, there are concerns now that are being expressed over at the legislature, and the quote now from the Speaker's office. To date, the only member of Congress to complain about Bill 181 is Mike Nicholas. If H.R. 1365 is now facing danger in the Senate, maybe it's because he so loudly complained about the smoke, no one can tell that he started the fire. I think it's the same thing that one of your colleagues just accused the president of just a few minutes ago, being an arsonist and a fireman at the same time. What was your response to that?
Oh, well, I mean, we basically said, we're just being upfront about what's going on, and we've been upfront from the get-go. I don't want this thing to mess up, Ray. I don't think anybody does, and that's why we've been kind of making our case over here that these things are going to create these kind of risks, and it's just so ironic that in one breath they want me to be telling them what's going on, and then now that I'm telling them what's going on, they're telling me that I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
I got to do what I got to do, and I got to provide the guidance to the local government when the local government's going to insist on not listening to me. But I'm definitely not the one starting any fires over here. I'm the one that's gotten us to this point pretty much in terms of correcting this error, and I'm trying to make sure that we are able to get that correction through.
One of the points that you made in the speech before the legislature had to do with some of the opposite sides. Regardless of what happens, if there is 35-61 and the government of Guam is successful in taking local funds and paying the World War II loyalty recognition claimants that have been adjudicated, is there any guarantee, regardless of an MOU, that there would still be compensation back to the government of Guam from the Treasury?
From the Treasury, I don't think so. I mean, if the government of Guam is setting up a payment process where they're going to have the claimant assign their payment to the government of Guam, that's something that could potentially work out. But if instead the process that they're trying to work out is for Treasury to not even process that claim and just pay Gov Guam directly, that cannot happen without legislation. If Treasury already cannot pay the claimant themselves, then Treasury certainly can't pay a third party that's covering that claimant's amounts.
Yes, which is what everybody's talking about now. It's nice that you've got an MOU, but without some kind of administrative authority granted by Congress and authorized by the president. You can have as many MOUs as you want to. If there's no legal way to make these payments, there's no legal way to make the payments.
Right, and so it really depends on how the whole thing is structured, and that just makes the issue all the more concerning, because the more complicated this gets, the more questions get asked, the longer things drag out, and the more risk gets put on the table. And everyone was kind of on board with this whole process from the get-go. I'm just wanting us to follow through on what everyone's already invested so many years in, so many decades and so much work.
You've clearly got politics in front of everything. But the good news, I suppose, is that eventually you'll have some company. It looks like Tina Rose wants to fly out to D.C.
Yeah, and part of my reaction as well is that's not going to be helpful. We don't need more voices out here talking about different ways of doing things. We're trying to get this thing through on a very even keel. Not a lot of people asking questions, not a lot of details having to be provided. It's supposed to be, we're selling this as a technical correction to something that has already been vetted. Once you start adding more ingredients to the soup, then you start wondering, are you dealing with a kadu, or are you dealing with a stafao, or are you dealing with a stew, or what? And so we're trying to make this thing as palatable and smooth as possible. And having more people coming out to talk about a local alternative is not going to be helpful.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting, and just on a personal aside here, it's, was looking for, normally when somebody makes a statement before the legislature, you've got the opposing party coming out with their criticisms of what they heard and what they thought should have been in the speech. I was surprised that from inside your own party, in fact, the governor of Guam was very critical of the speech that you laid out before her and the legislature. How'd that hit you when you saw her negative remarks?
That's okay. It's up to her how she wants to take the things that I have to say. All I can do is really present what's going on and what some of the options are, what some of the alternatives can possibly be, the good things that we can do together, and really, try and encourage that as much as possible. But, I can only do my part, and I'm going to continue doing that, even if there's not going to be a favorable response to that.
To assuage her concerns, are you working on a permanent solution to Medicaid funding issues that we've got here on Guam, elimination of the cap for the territory and maybe the other territories? You're working towards that?
We've already jumped the cap way up to 120 million plus. I think that we need to focus on pulling together the local funds to be able to fully avail of that matching amount. And as we start pushing up toward that threshold, we can start looking at trying to lift that cap. But let's take the win that we have and demonstrate our ability to fully utilize it, and then we can come back and ask for more. But to already get such a huge increase in our cap and immediately try and turn around and say, okay, well, not enough, we want some more. We need to act on good faith and do our part as well. So I'm hoping we can work with what we have, and then once we demonstrate an ability to do that, take the next step and ask for more.
Gotcha. The Facebook Live with a number of comments that seem to be in support of you and your work in Washington, D.C. Gus Jasaga saying, let MSN do his job. We all know Capitol Hill will not use the nation's taxpayers' money to reimburse Guam. Tina going to D.C. will be the death of our opportunities in Congress. Hopefully there are folks over at the legislature and the governor's office that are paying attention to the commentary of the voters here. Mike, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you jumping on the phone just as you're getting out of the airport. I know how busy you are and the nature of the work that you've got to do in the next 72 hours.
Thanks, Ray, for always helping us to keep the people informed, too. And we'll keep you guys posted as soon as we get any more information and as soon as there's any updates. I'm still optimistic. I'm not trying to, rain on any parade here. I'm optimistic that we can get this thing through. But I also don't want to be withholding information on where things are at right now, and we're going to see where we go from here.
I got you. And on another personal note here, who's got my refrigerator magnets, you or Sahara?
Refrigerator magnet.
Okay, Sahara's got them.
If I have it, yeah, Sahara has it, because if I have it, it's in the wrong place at the wrong time right now.
I was going to say, 7:29 in the morning. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Have a great Washington, D.C. night. 888-825-5888-TALK. Congressman Mike Nicholas on the line. Jerry Roberts got the extra point. We'll cozy up with him on the other side of Headline News with Montecillo Tyron, brought to you by Auntie Lolita Cammett of Remax Diamond Realty. For all of your real estate needs, give her a ring, 688-6743. Again, Lolita Cammett at 688-6743. Now, with news from the Guam Daily Post, here's Montecillo Tyron.
Southern residents will be allowed to voice their concerns on public safety. A town hall meeting will be held this evening at the Maritzo Senior Center. Senator Jim Moylan's been hosting the town meetings to address bills that he's introduced, but to also get feedback from villagers. Tonight's meeting starts at 6. The Legislative Committee on Land will hold an oversight hearing this afternoon on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. The committee will be focusing on proposed changes to the land trust law that's being proposed in a settlement between the Government of Guam and the Department of Justice. That hearing starts at 2 o'clock at the legislature. And he isn't sure who is raising concerns or what exactly the concern is, but Congressman Mike Nicholas says he's received word that there have been issues now raised over Guam's H.R. 1365 that seeks to allow for payments of war claims to Guamanians. Mike Nicholas crossing his fingers the recent passage of the local bill 181 that pays war claims using local monies could have thwarted his efforts. He'll learn more in the next day or so and hopes to provide a smooth resolution and ask the Speaker of the Guam Legislature not to interfere with the process. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper or log on to their website at postguam.com.
I hear that. 7:31 is iConnect time. Give them a ring at 888-8888 and find out how they can save you money on your mobile, internet, even push-to-talk plans.
Lolita Cabot from RE/MAX Diamond Realty, a friendly, hardworking, and passionate RE/MAX professional, is committed to helping you make a difference in your life and to helping you achieve the American dream of home ownership. She also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, and military and corporate relocation. So for all your real estate needs, call Lolita Cabot from RE/MAX Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
Decisions. I've got the paralysis by too much choice around here to talk about what you might be able to find over at Mescla. The lunch specials include SoCal, that's Southern California style, 2-pound surf and turf burrito. 2 pounds. That's nice. Try the fish tacos, San Diego style, or try this certified Angus beef pot roast tacos, fork tender tomorrow style beef pot roast. They saute that with onions and some donut and stuff it into soft. So you can almost hear me salivating now, can't you? When I talk about onions, sauteing it in onions and donut peppers, you stuff it into soft corn tortillas and top with fresh onions and cilantro. Serve that up with spicy roasted chili salsa for $16.95. And with this, I will authorize you to have a couple of beers at lunch. Visit Mescla in Agatia and in Tucumán at the Grand Plaza Hotel. For res, call 969-2652.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East West Business Center, Upper Tucumán. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Oh, yeah, we're in the middle of drive time, aren't we? Taking a look at northbound traffic. Lots of it on Route 3 trying to get to Marine Corps Drive in both directions. Expect delays around the school and by GRMC. Southbound traffic, Marine Corps Drive, getting up to Wai-Sangsong, meeting up with some traffic down there. Should open up a little bit more by the time you get into Upper Tucumán and should be smooth for most of the rest of the trip. Intersection traffic at 8, 10, and 16 also looking fairly busy. 10 and 15, 4 and 10 if you're headed out in that direction. And expect some big slowdowns at the intersection of Route 4 and Route 15 over by Apicento Gardens. Nothing major in front of Navy Hospital. And, yeah, it looks like traffic's starting to busy up over at Big Navy in Sumai. That's the way it looks right now. 7:33 right now, traffic on the point.
We understand what matters to you because at Docomo Pacific, we're a family too. With the Now Family program, mom, dad, and kids stay connected on the latest devices the whole family can enjoy. For just $155 a month, get 3 lines with 30 gigs of 4G LTE data each, and endless use of your favorite apps without affecting your monthly data bucket. Add more, get more, save more. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
I got 7:34 on the studio clock. A little bit out of sync this morning with the earlier phone call from Congressman Mike Nicholas outlining what the issue is. A consult request has been made on H.R. 1365, and he's thinking, well, the only thing that's changed has been on our end with the passage of Bill 35-61, Public Law 35-61. It's late in the day out in Washington, D.C. right now, so don't expect too much by way of an update until tomorrow morning. We'll bring it to you as we get it. It's 7:34. Take a quick look at what happened in the markets before we get to Jerry Roberts and the extra point. Markets seem to rebound here today. I was looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, picking up a few, about 161 points, closing at 28,745. When you consider what's going on in the Middle East, I think that's almost glorious. The Nasdaq up by 60 points, 91.29. The S&P 500 at 52.53. They picked up 15 points. Now we'll take a look at Bitcoin.
Yeah, standard Thursday Bitcoin check. You know, it peaked at 84.34 yesterday. We were talking about how it had been moving up, but it's on the way back down. Now at 8,015 and 51 cents.
I got conflicting numbers on West Texas crude. I was looking at oil prices telling me it was $59.71. Taking a look at CNBC, they're pricing West Texas at $60.08. Still hovering around that $60 range, but it has moved down significantly from where it was yesterday at $62.58 over concerns out in the Middle East. Tapis crude not doing as well. 74.11 the other day, spiked at 77. $77.80 for a barrel over the weekend. We weren't able to see that. Gas companies did, and that's why the gas prices are up. But it's settling down now to $75.95. Still higher than what it was on Friday, but it seems to be trending lower now, and that's the good news here. 7:36. Jerry Roberts is in the studio. Thanks for giving me the time to talk to Cousin Mikey.
My pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Interesting things going on in his life and concerns over where we're going with the World War II Loyalty Recognition Act. Like I said, a couple of years ago, we thought we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and as it turns out, it's the train coming in the opposite direction, isn't it?
Well, the political train coming in the opposite direction.
I got that. One of the things that struck me this morning as I was looking at the numbers here on where oil is going, as I said, prices were going up. Everybody concerned about what was going on in the Middle East, and it looked like President Trump took your advice yesterday and built in a pause in the conflict. He said, okay, well, you sent some rockets over. It didn't break anything over here, so we're just going to let this sleeping dog lie for a little bit. It looks like they've got the sirens again out in Baghdad, and that's unfortunate. But Trump did try to exercise that pause in the conflict, as you had suggested. Everybody do in their conflicts, family, work, etc.
He doesn't pause very often, so,
that was kind of meaningful, wasn't it? Anyway,
one thing on the other point with the war reparations. Yeah. I mean, I know that Mike has his side, and the governor and Tina have their side. The people in the middle don't really care about any of this stuff. Yeah. They just want their money. So I'm hoping that somehow or other we can take all the politics of this and just push it aside, just for a moment. Politics does not go down and very often here and hide itself. But maybe just for a few minutes we can separate this, get the people their money, and then go back to political war. Yeah, that would be okay, right?
It's an election year, right?
Oh, is it?
It is. Yep,
I didn't know that.
That's what's happening here. 7:37. Jerry Roberts and the belated extra point brought to you by our friends over at Guan Insurance Services, and pretty soon the fellas over at First Hawaiian Bank, where it all starts with yes.
How is your job impacting your health? Well, today we'll reveal a study that some people feel is answering that question. We'll also talk about some changes we'd like to see as a result. That's next on The Extra Point.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
A homeowner's policy protects much more than just your house. It also protects you against claims from someone being hurt on your property. If a visitor is injured at your place, how much are you covered for? The smart thing to do is get the answer today.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Occasionally, we talk about toxic workplaces, and this generally refers to the organizational culture with negative factors like gossip, micromanagement, and fear. The term toxic can also mean places that actually make us physically and psychologically ill. Is your health in danger where you work? One company made it their business to find that out. British office equipment manufacturer Fellows commissioned a study known as the Work Colleague of the Future, building a lifelike full-size model named Emma, which would display the effect of 20 years in the average workplace as we know it. Health experts were recruited for the project, unpacking survey data submitted by over 3,000 office workers. 9 out of 10 British workers felt their poor health was a result of their employer's environment. The study claimed that 6 hours spent at a desk daily contributes to strained eyes, back soreness, and headaches. Our girl Emma didn't fare too well. She has poor posture, a reminder that she spends most of the day hunched over a computer screen, and that can't be good for her spine. Emma is overweight, probably not eating right and rarely getting enough exercise. Her dry red eyes indicate too much time in front of the computer. Varicose veins in her legs warn of poor circulation, as do her swollen limbs and sinuses. As mentioned, she's been on the job for 20 years. And her health is declining. The study, funded by Fellows, is designed to bring these findings to the working public, generate conversation and meaningful change if more of us want to avoid the ailments that Emma suffers from. Workers need to be encouraged to eat better, move more, improve their posture, and set up their workstation to assist in better health. For their part, employers should buy better chairs, ensure that computer monitors are at the prescribed eye level, monitor air quality, provide good water, and you can go online for a ton of other suggestions. Company-sponsored exercise is a great way to add health while doing some team building. HR departments can provide health information through managers and supervisors. Health insurance providers can be brought in to counsel workers. All of these factors encourage better health performance. Poor health leads to absenteeism, mediocre performance, higher insurance premiums, and nobody wins. On the other hand, organizations that embrace this problem and make progress should be rewarded by their insurers, with some of those financial benefits then being passed along to workers. Emma is a warning for all of us. If we take our eyes off the ball and strike out when it comes to workplace health, there's an enormous price to pay down the road. Everybody has to play in this game, and we can't afford to lose it. That's the Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show, Guahan Insurance Services, and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm Jerry Roberts.
So we're going to have to start doling out more wellness breaks to our employees.
I miss a ton of things on this, but the idea is that what they didn't take into consideration or didn't discuss is the employee's responsibility here. If you're eating bad stuff,
it's going to have an impact, yeah.
It'll have an impact. So what I really think there needs to be, and there has not been in the past, there have been a lot of health summits here for various purposes.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a workplace health summit, and I'd be happy to be a part of that. I think we need the effects of these issues that go on every day, I mean, in the workplace, affect everybody here, and performance, and the bottom line. You as a business owner, I mean, you need to have your people.
I can't afford to have people sick,
Well, sick, or the other factor is they're here, but not performing at tip-top performance levels, right? So,
call the guys over at M80, got some new ownership over there, and start talking about maybe chairs that are a little bit more ergonomic and easier to have people sit in, a little bit more orthopedic for them so that they've got more control over what's happening with their backs and their legs and their varicoses and all of that.
Well, the other thing is
video screens that are easier on the eyes.
Okay, yeah, and that's part of it. And the other thing is, I think employers have the right to tell somebody, let's talk about your eating habits. And that's area that no one's gone into. That's none of your business what I eat.
Call HR.
Well, excuse me, it is part of my business because you're driving my health insurance premiums up because of your issues, and I can prove that.
Right. And I think there are more companies that are doing things like that these days because the company usually has a share in their health insurance contracts, and as their employers get sicker, as they utilize those health insurance deals more and more, the prices obviously go up for everybody, the employer and the employer. So I've worked. I've been around companies where they've tried to take steps to get the employees to think more in terms of their own health. Something as simple as, do you have employees that smoke? Maybe offer some kind of a reward. When I was at cable TV, they had an incentive program where they'd give you $100 if you could prove that you quit smoking for.
Well, the government of Guam has instituted that, and they also have smoking cessation programs that are offered out of the Department of Administration.
Right.
And then on top of that, they allow employees to take a certain number of hours a week to go and exercise, go to the gym.
It's free for them, isn't it?
And
it's gym also, membership is generally free.
If they sign on to their insurance program. So it's free.
But that's proactive.
And then the insurance companies, there's one of them that actually gives a rebate for those individuals. It was the previous contract that they had, but they give a rebate to employees for going to the gym a certain number of days in the month. And if you meet that day, you get like $25 at the end of the month.
All of these are great ideas, but I think we need to come together on this and bring all these ideas to the table and then take some action on it.
Well, I bring all my candy to the office because I don't want it at my house.
Yeah, see, and my employer is concerned about my health.
counterproductive.
Yeah, that's the reason why I eat oatmeal in front of you, but I drink my can of chicken gravy beforeward.
There you go. And you might want to institute, as has been done in some places, thank your employees very much, but please take your slow cookers and your rice cookers home, and no cooking on the premises. We've seen that kind of thing before.
Hey, do you ever hear the argument, there's the non-smokers who see the smokers go out for their 15-minute break, and then the non-smokers are like, well, where do I get my break?
How come they, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of companies now are compensating them for that. So if employees are outside smoking during their quote break, employees that don't smoke are still at their desk working on the inside. There are now some companies that are saying, all right, I will pay you more because I know that you're not going outside for a smoke break. I know you're not stopping your work because you're sitting at the desk, so I'll pay you another half hour's worth of work every day.
You know some people who come in at 8 o'clock and then they go turn on their computer and sit down for a second, grab their pack of cigarette and go out for...
There's also, we talked about the health insurance premiums. There are, and I've read online in some forums, there are situations where the person in the desk next to you, for example, let's say that you are driving the premiums up, right, because of lifestyle, and a certain number of people do that, so the factors go higher, right? The people that aren't contributing to that, they're saying, wait a second, your lifestyle is costing me money.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it's not a matter of employee versus employer all the time. It's employee versus employee.
Well, the
now.
employee will also have to pick up the slack if the other employee is sick or,
We just need to throw all this stuff on the table
All right,
and
you
talk
sick
it
people
over.
quit. That's all we want. James Howard says, wow, you should have told me this 20 years ago, but thanks anyway, Jerry. Gus Jasanga says, awesome point today, Jerry Robertson. Dennis Bensour says, the military has it right. Mandatory physical training.
There you go.
You want to start doing something like that around the office? The Japanese do it. You know, the factory
Sure,
guys.
why not?
First 20
That'll be
minutes of the
fun.
day, we're out doing calisthenics.
They do it together.
7:46. Do I have a break? No break. All right, we're going to keep going. That's Jerry Robertson, the Extra Point, again brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services, First Hawaiian Bank. Great to have them on board with all of that stuff. As we move through the rest of the program here, there's my friend Yuka Hechanova, and Mike Nicholas is online. Sahara Defensor on Facebook Live as well, saying, I have your magnets. Where should they be delivered? Well, first of all, Sarah, it's awesome that you are back on Guam. And number two, thanks for the refrigerator magnets.
Well, tell her to come in. I haven't seen her in years.
Nobody has seen her in years.
Come on in and talk to us. Hang out.
Not since that flap at the governor's office, you know, when she recorded the conversation. That's so awesome. Thank you.
Let's play the tape.
Who still has that tape? A couple of things now before we get into wherever it is that we're going to be going for the rest of the hour. At 7:47, I need you to go to thepoint.gu on the World Wide Web. That's one of the places, A, where you can watch the program without me mentioning your name. And B, it's where we've got our online poll, and we asked a poll question yesterday. And I'm going to leave this up for a while because I think it's a compelling question, and it certainly got people talking yesterday. Do you support a part-time legislature? And I'll bet you Michael St. Nicholas is online right now clicking, yes, I support a part-time legislature. The less time they're in session, the less time they're together, the less time there might be any meddling on what essentially are federal affairs that the guy in D.C. ought to be taking care of, as opposed to trying to get around him, circumvent him, and flank him by doing legislation here. Do you support a part-time legislature? There are only two answers to this. Yes, policy versus optics. Starting to get tired of the optics, aren't you? And then no, I like the legislature as it is. Now, believe it or not, 25% of the people that answered the survey said, I like the legislature the way it is. I'm kind of not annoyed by it. I guess I could say I'm annoyed. But the answer kind of rubs me the wrong way because have you seen anything worthwhile coming out of the legislature? You get Jim Moylan, who has got some, I think, good ideas in terms of legislation that might actually make a difference around here, but he doesn't get the time of day from among the Democratic deep state over at that place. But other than that, and Clint Rigel's recreational marijuana bill, has anything else come out of the legislature that really has vastly improved your life? Can you honestly say that there is anything that's come out of the legislature that has changed your life for the better? Yeah, it's pretty quiet around here, isn't it? And isn't that why we go in and we're all hopeful that maybe something is going to happen this time, and that maybe this is going to be the legislature that's different? 10 away from the top of the hour. 888-8255-888-TALK. The other Governor, Leon Guerrero, Ken LG, is on the line. Good morning, Ken.
Well, in answer to your question, not a single bill passed so far in the legislature does anything to improve the quality of life of residents.
Right.
But there are a lot of bills that improve the quality of life for politicians and government employees.
Right.
And
But
especially
let's
the
be
mayor's
clear
council.
that we're talking about this current legislature, because I would say that in the 31st Guam legislature, there were some bills that were pushed out that were actually very beneficial.
We're speaking about the 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're definitely talking
Just for
about
clarity's
the what will go down as the dumbest class of the legislature in, I think, the history of the legislature. This is with a couple of exceptions, and if you think I'm talking about you, then I probably am. With a couple of exceptions, this is the daffiest bunch I've ever observed.
Well, the video I sent you was testimony that I gave before the speakers, well, before the legislature. But what was so interesting about it is when I'm giving my testimony, especially specifically on the Jonia Mayer situation, the speaker suddenly found something really interesting on page 14 of the bill. and spent the entire time just staring down at the bill instead of listening to the testimony.
Yeah, well, I'll get around to playing that. I've got it. It's ingested in the system now. It's a little trickier to do as you send me MP4s. I've got to put them in a different place. But I'll get to playing that before I'm all done. But on the online poll where we're asking, do you support the part-time legislature? As I said, there are a couple of people that have voted no. I like the legislature as it is. So I'm going to send you the IP address for these guys, because I'll bet you $1 it's from somebody at the legislature.
I wouldn't bet against you on that.
You know, the nose pickers and poll clickers. That's what we've got going on over at the place. But it certainly is interesting, and the latest flap now between the legislature and Mike St. Nicholas is front and center in my attention span this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that and a few other bills have really driven a clear wedge between the people and the senators.
Well, the question I have is do we really need the Speaker of the Legislature to go to Washington, D.C. to try to fix this?
Well, apparently there must be something at the Kennedy Center that she really wants to see, or she's going to take a quick hop up to New York,
Smithsonian,
hop in at the UN, and go visit with the United Unrepresented People's Organization to plead her case once again, that the people of Guam are basically being treated badly and ignored by the federal government.
Yeah. I got you.
So,
listen, I'm going to let you run here, and like I said, I'll get around to busting that video of yours a little bit later on.
Okay, talk to you later.
You know you will. 7:52. It's the Ray Gibson Show on 93.3. This is The Point, as I like to do every once in a while, and it shows you the priorities. It's no secret that smoking ice will make you stupid. Give you an example. You know, you get the guys trying to put a whole generator in the front seat of the car. I guarantee that there is some ice smoking that is involved with that particular story. Although I've got to say he's certainly one of the biggest ice smoking guys. If that is his habit these days, he's certainly one of the pokier guys that I've seen. But you start looking around at some of the priorities of these guys as
apparently there are people who can smoke ice and still eat.
Yes. Well, maybe we've gotten to that point. Maybe we've evolved as a druggy community around here. It used to be people that got ice, and all of a sudden they'd look emaciated. They start losing their teeth, things like that. Is it possible that we've got our ice habits so well down here that we can get all kicked out, be tweaking all the time, yet still put on that freshman 15? That 15, 20 pounds that you get. 7:53 in the morning. But this will give you an idea of what happens to these guys. Day before, about 2:50 in the afternoon, cops noticed John Sahagan removing a gas can from the trunk of a car stopped by the roadside. He told the police he ran out of gas and he'd called a friend for help. Defendant number 2, Jessica Smith, sat in the passenger seat holding a 7-month-old infant. Defendant 1, that would be John Sahagan, said he didn't have a driver's license or registration. No driver's license, no registration, no gas in the car. But the police obtained consent to search both the vehicle and Defendant 2 purse. Inside the purse, police found 2 plastic straws that were heat-sealed at one end and contained a white residue suspected to be methamphetamine. Police also found a small, clear, resealable bag containing a white residue that later tested presumptive positive for meth. Defendant 2 stated she didn't own the items, but had placed them in her bag. I don't own them, but she stuck them in the bag when the cops came. Defendant 1 claimed to own the items on the front, like it matters. Like it matters. It was on her, but defendant number 1, John Sahagan, decides, you know what? I'm going to show some male chivalry here. That's not her ice.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Hun, hold my wallet.
On the front passenger floor, police also found small, clear, resealable bags with white residue that later tested positive for methamphetamine. Defendant 1 admitted that those bags were his as well. Like I said, let's say her chivalry is not dead. But this is the thing. Here's the priorities, right? We got the baby in the car. There's no license, there's no registration, probably no insurance on the automobile either, and we're so busy trying to figure out how we're going to be tweaking that we forgot to put gasoline in the car.
And the poor baby was in the hot car because it was in the heat of the day.
7-month-old infant is what we're talking about here. Can you imagine what the quality of life for that kid is going to be growing up with these 2 parents of
was
the
a child at least in a car seat? I'm sure it doesn't say because I didn't see it.
Sat in the passenger seat holding a 7-month-old infant. So it doesn't sound like the kid was in a safety seat, but it's also possible that it doesn't make any difference because they weren't moving. So they've been busted for possession of Schedule II controlled substance and one count of an expired registration in violation of Title 16. That's funny.
Yeah, I had a caller call in, and actually we know this lady. She dropped her daughter off at Harvest, said she was traveling back road, and I can't quite get the road where she says she was at, but she was at an intersection when somebody tried to walk and open up her passenger side door. It was a female. She said it was female in her 30s, and that she had just locked her door right in time, but this person came and tried to open her door up right there at the intersection, and then once that happened, the light changed and they were able to leave. She says she's going to report it to the police and stuff, but again, back road on the way to Guam
report it to
Memorial.
us first.
Yeah, Guam, on the way to Guam Memorial Cemetery is what she said. It was a lot of information to take in a quick period of time. So if you're traveling back road, lock all your doors and don't.
That sounds like the area where I live in. If it's on the way to the cemetery.
Yeah, but not on the back road that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, and this may have there's a lot of information, and I am not at all familiar with this area.
The back road from
by law, I'm not allowed to go up on that part of the island.
Is it Dairy Road?
Around there, Route 15,
prison?
10 and 15. But I'm not. Look, here's lock your doors. Lock your doors in the house. Lock your doors in the car. 757.
Well, they're even saying lock your doors and don't roll your windows down because there's even folks at the intersections that will go up to your car.
Well, that's the thing, and it was like I was talking with her. I mean, this is actually a common thing in the Philippines where they'll do that quick hit. They'll spot a car that's got a window down, and when you just get at the light, they'll run over real quick, just get in your window. Many of us put stuff of value in the seat next to us.
Sure.
Just while we're in transit, they'll reach in there and boom and
so
grab it and go.
Them, right?
Yeah, you can't do anything, and they're in and out before and into the crowd before they can
as I said, this is the thing, and a reminder here at the end of the hour that Jimmy Moylan, Senator Moylan's going to have another one of these town halls tonight down in Malesu, and to find out what the crime concerns are for residents down south. Some of the things that they'd like to see by way of legislation. Some of the things they'd like to see by way of more police activity and enforcement of the laws down in the south of Guam. 7:58. But the truth of the matter is, there's a crime wave that's going on here on Guam, and there's all kinds of people that are out there tweaking, just like John and Jessica here, that have got just enough money to take care of feeding their meth habits, but not enough apparently to put gasoline in the car, get the car re-registered, and do all of those other things. And there are people that are just drunk and desperate all the time, including the guy that walked up to the woman in her own yard and began to criminally fondle her. Thank God he's behind bars. At least I think he's behind bars. I don't know what happens in the criminal justice system, whether he's been arraigned and otherwise released. There was a couple of stories, in fact, a picture of some guy that Big Sister Shelley put on the family chat. If not on the family chat, then directly to me, some guy up in Barragata Heights, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, walking around drunk. And the police went to go chase him down. There seems to be a whole lot of that kind of craziness around here, and we seem to be powerless to do anything about it. If this thing is happening at an intersection, is it one of those people that's out there illegally panhandling? That again, there's another thing that we can't control. It's illegal to panhandle. You're not supposed to do that, but the mayors can't seem to control it. They call the police. The police move them along, and as soon as the police car goes off in the other direction, they go right back to the intersection and start doing their panhandling and their begging routine. So the little things need enforcement along with the big things. In the meantime, lock your doors, roll up the windows, and you see somebody walking towards a car, get it moving. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. The radio station is KUSG. Got you. Stand by now. Fox News Live. Montecillo Tyron with news on the other side of that. And then we'll find out what Dennis Bensour is bringing by the radio station, right? That's all ahead on The Point.
Trump puts peace on the table. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
To the people and leaders of Iran, we want you to have a future, and a great future, one that you deserve.
The president earlier today saying no Americans or Iraqis were hurt in last night's Iranian missile strike in Iraq, adding it appears Iran is standing down. So instead of more military action, he announced more sanctions.
These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
Adding that NATO should get more involved in the Middle East and urging nations still in the nuclear deal with Iran to push for a new agreement. But the administration still trying to convince some skeptical lawmakers, mainly Democrats, that taking out Iran's top general was necessary. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on Capitol Hill.
Well, lawmakers walked out of a briefing from senior cabinet officials with different takeaways about last week's airstrike targeting and killing a top Iranian general.
Had decisive action not been taken, we could very well be standing here today talking about the death of dozens, if not hundreds of Americans.
Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio describing the threat presented by General Qasem Soleimani. New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez, the top Democrat on the Foreign Relations Committee, disagreed.
We have more questions than we have answers at the end of the day.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has announced a vote tomorrow on a war powers resolution that would curb military strikes on Iranian targets without congressional approval. Lisa.
Meantime, Jared, after warning sirens and a possible explosion heard in Baghdad, we're now getting reports that 2 rockets have landed in the green zone where the U.S. Embassy is located, but no reports of any casualties. There has been concern about possible proxy attacks by Iranian-backed militias, although a Shiite cleric is reportedly telling pro-Iranian groups not to start a military action. America is listening to Fox News.
People come to Chili's for a million reasons. For happy hour, date night, birthdays, or just because it's Tuesday. But if you ask us what brings people into our restaurants time and time again, is that Chili's moment. You know the one. When you eat so much you want to fall asleep at the table, or when you meet up with good friends and it turns into a party. At Chili's, moments like these matter, and we want to make more of them. So there may be a million reasons to Chili's, but all you really need is one. Chili's, savor the moment in our new location in the Tumon Sands Plaza 2nd floor.
The holidays are here and the shopping frenzy begins. Protect yourself with these safe shopping tips. Consider shopping only with retailers you trust or do some research on other retailers you aren't familiar with before proceeding. Don't save your credit card information on retail websites and never make payments when using public Wi-Fi. Switch to cellular data or wait until you get to a secure network to make your purchases. These safe holiday banking tips are brought to you by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
Canada's Prime Minister says it's dangerous to speculate on the cause of a plane crash earlier today in Iran that killed 176 people, including more than 60 Canadians.
Your loss is indescribable, and this is a heartbreaking tragedy. While no words will erase your pain, I want you to know that an entire country is with you.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking moments ago. The crash of the Ukrainian airliner happened just hours after Iran launched missiles into Iraq. But officials in Iran and Canada have said they suspect a mechanical cause of the crash, possibly an engine overheating. Trudeau says Canada expects to have a role in the investigation. Iran has so far been refusing to give the black box back to Boeing. President Trump does plan to attend a global economic forum in Switzerland this month, making up for an appearance he canceled during last year's record-long shutdown of the U.S. government. It'll be his first time on the world stage since authorizing the strike that killed Iran's top general. A big change for 2 of Britain's royals.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are, quote, stepping back as senior members of the royal family. The couple posting on Instagram, "We have chosen to make a transition this year and starting to carve out a progressive new role within this institution. We intend to step back as senior members of the royal family and work to become financially independent while continuing to fully support Her Majesty the Queen." Harry went on to say they would split their time between the United Kingdom and North America. The move would enable them to raise their son with an appreciation for the royal tradition while also providing our family the space to focus on the next chapter.
Fox's Michelle Polino. A rally on Wall Street today. The Dow up 161 points, but off session highs. A record close, though, for the NASDAQ. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Here at APL, our core values give the company its heart and soul. Whether it's connecting your business with our global network through our newly enhanced service or investing our efforts into giving back to the community, APL is committed to serving you. We humbly honor the opportunity to find innovative solutions for you and your business. To learn more about our enhanced service, call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com/Guam for more details.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
At the mall, as you enjoy your shopping, dining, or entertainment, you could also win 3 great cars from Atkins Kroll and thousands of prizes in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game. Present your mall receipts and have a chance to win the renowned performance Chevrolet Camaro, the unapologetic rugged Toyota 4Runner, or the head-turning Lexus ES350 Luxury. Getaways to Manila, courtesy of Philippine Airlines, plus prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. The more you shop, the more chance to win in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game.
Congressman Hoffaday, and good morning, Guam. It is 8:06. I'm Ana Silva Tyron, and here are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Congressman Mike St. Nicholas says he isn't sure who's raising concerns or what exactly the concern is, but St. Nicholas says he has received word that there have been issues now raised over Guam's H.R. 1365 that seeks to allow the Department of Treasury to make payments to war claims to Guamanians. St. Nicholas is crossing his fingers the recent passage of a local bill, 181, that pays war claims using local monies could have thwarted his efforts. He'll learn more in the next day or so and hopes to provide a smooth resolution. Speaker Tina Muñoz Barnes says she plans on meeting with members of the Senate's Judiciary Committee to advocate for the passage of H.R. 1365. St. Nicholas responds, though, saying, "Speaker, please stay home," and asks that she not interfere any further. There's no clear word from the Jotnya mayor if he even intends to resign while he awaits his criminal trial, but apparently will be taking some action in impaneling a municipal planning council. According to the mayor's council executive director, Angel Sablan, they're just waiting for word from Mayor Jesse Blas, his attorney, on his selection of the council members. Blas has been in jail since being arrested in August on charges of bribery in connection with a drug operation in his village. His trial is now set to take place in February, and because he hadn't previously selected a council, Jotnya Village has been left without a village leader. The council, once in place, will handle the duties of the mayor in his absence. Mayor Blas has not said when he will choose the council members. Ultimately, his colleagues would rather have him step down and allow for another mayor to be elected. There's also been some action in the community to have him recalled. Blas is scheduled to appear back in court on January 22nd, and his trial set to begin on the 4th of February. Southern residents will be allowed to voice their concerns on public safety. A town hall meeting has been scheduled for this evening at the Maritzo Senior Center. Senator Jim Moylan has been hosting those town hall meetings to address bills that he's introduced, but to also get some feedback from villagers. Tonight's meeting starts at 6 o'clock. And the Legislative Committee on Land will hold an oversight hearing this afternoon on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. The committee will be focusing on proposed changes to the land trust law that's being proposed in a settlement between the Government of Guam and the Department of Justice. That hearing starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have more news after this.
Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro in the Grand Plaza Hotel Tumon is now serving your favorite daily specials. Come one, come all. Enjoy your Monday with that savory Caron Pica, your Tuesday with your one and only candied salmon. Stroll by on Wednesday to try that local-style oxtail caro, or Thursday if you're feeling that pan-crisp pork belly served over roasted sweet potato mash. And don't forget that misoyaki black cod with garlic mashed potatoes on Fridays. Busy at work and still want your fix? Call us at 969-2652 for your takeout order.
It's hard to believe, but Security Title is 20 years old. Reaching this milestone is a clear testament to the hard work of our employees, who are as passionate about our work as we are about our community. We are most grateful for the realtors, lenders, attorneys, investors, and the buyers and sellers we serve. They are the reason our doors have been open for 20 years. Security Title looks back with gratitude for the past 20 years and looks forward with optimism to the next 20. Thank you, Guam.
The Guam Waterworks Authority will cut ribbon today for the newly upgraded Umatic Maritzo wastewater treatment plant. That plant was first built in 1981, and the $21 million upgrade will serve more than 500 customers in the two villages. This will be a significant improvement to wastewater treatment to these southern villages and for the protection of the Toquan River and the marine environment. Funding for the project came from 2010, 2013, and 2016 bond borrowing, as well as system development charges assessed against land developers. Cost-U-Less has been given a clean bill from public health inspectors who say that they couldn't verify a complaint of outdated meat being repacked with a new label. The complaint filed after a video captured what appeared to be meat being repacked. The person claimed it was outdated meat, but Cost-U-Less says it wasn't true. The public health inspection took place on January 3rd and has confirmed that Cost-U-Less was not in violation at all. A woman charged with scamming the food stamp program has escaped having to go to jail. Yolanda Digelman, one of 2 Government of Guam nutrition assistance employees accused of food stamp fraud, has pleaded guilty to official misconduct. She was given a year prison sentence, which was suspended. As part of the agreement, the prosecution has moved to dismiss charges of unauthorized use of benefits under the SNAP program and identity theft. Dingaman would also be required to pay restitution to the Government of Guam per her agreement. She and her co-defendant, Jennifer Tapasio, were both indicted after they transferred, acquired, or possessed food stamp coupons unlawfully. Tapasio pleaded guilty to official misconduct as a misdemeanor back in 2019. Her sentencing is outstanding, but Tapasio has her plea agreement indicated that she too will receive a 1-year suspended sentence and have her felony charges dismissed as well. And those are your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
Well, thanks very much. It's 8:12 in the morning, and weather-wise, more breeze is walking into this part of the Mariana Island. Partly sunny and isolated showers. Northeast winds blowing up to 25 miles an hour, decreasing a little bit overnight. Highs near 86 degrees. Expected overnight lows should be about 76. For sunset tonight, 6:08. Sunrise tomorrow morning should be about 6:46. Now, if you're headed around the oceans, please be aware there's a high surf advisory in effect until about 6 o'clock tonight, affecting north-facing reefs and a high risk of rip currents through Friday along north and east-facing reefs. So be very, very careful. If you absolutely positively need to jump into the water, just be aware that it could be the last thing that you do, so watch out for it. Now, we'll take a look at the weather radar, and hold on, because I don't have the weather radar thing up there.
Well, and I'll clarify why we do get these warnings on the north-facing reefs, since we have winds coming from the east. What happens is as these weather systems pass by to our north, they send out little ripples of energy down our direction in the water, and so once those arrive, then that just, it kicks up the surf a little bit, and so we get those northern warnings as well. And keep in mind, any of the north-facing warnings also affect areas like Oka Peninsula and especially Adelup, where those particular shorelines do face north once they jut far enough out into the bays. So just be careful if you're on the northern edges of those particular land areas. Looking at radar real quick here, looks like we got plenty of showers firing up now just to the east. Could be the sun is trying to get some of this stirred up in the atmosphere with a little mixing. We'll look at the satellite here in just a minute, but we'll see there are more clouds over our area. Looks like the sun's tapping into some of that energy right now. Let's switch over to radar, our satellite, and we will see those clouds. They're kind of creeping up from the south. There's Guam in the midst of some of that yellowish stuff, and it looks like some of this is taking a bit. And the Weather Service may be a little confused as well because they still don't have their new forecast discussion out. And this is the kind of thing that happens in the tropics. You'll be sitting there, you'll look fine. This morning when I looked at the satellite, hardly any of this was visible, and then within the last 6 hours or so, it just kind of popped up. I'm a little concerned about this larger area of cloud cover off to the southeast. It looks like in the general flow of things, it will be headed in this direction. So maybe by this afternoon, we could actually see some more rain. We'll see what's going on. It is a weak tropical disturbance passing down, and it will be the reason that our winds are a little bit higher today than they were yesterday at about 15 to 25. As we're looking at things right now, though, it looks like just clouds, maybe a little shower or two, and those nice trade winds.
Gotcha. It's 8:14 in the morning, and that's news and weather together here on the Point. Mark Colby.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
We buy a homeowner's policy and never give it another thought until something happens. Life brings changes, and our coverage needs can change. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Let me see here. Portions of the program brought to you by Take Care, offering proven wellness and fitness programs to encourage you and your family to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. If you're an employer and you've got Take Care, urge your employees to learn more about these programs. Preventative care, being active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. You do it all with Take Care. It's also brought to you, the show is brought to you by APL, American President Lines, global presence with a local home.
The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK.
Yeah.
That's 888-8255.
Let's do that. Got a note here from my buddy Dave Torrey. He's saying, "Go Niners, beat the Vikings." They're not playing today, are they? That's a weekend game. Well, I think he's priming the pump, as it were. Lots going on in the next couple of days, including some big football. We might get around to talking about that in a minute. But he also sent a note about the first actual triathlon for 2020. It's the Guam Triathlon Federation's Super Sprint and membership renewal. So if maybe you've been out of it for out of practice for a little bit, show up at the old USO in Petey. Showtime at 6 a.m. They'll go at 7 o'clock after they get all the stingrays out of the water and the box jellyfish and things like that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about that. Anyway, 6 a.m., go at 7 a.m. They'll do a swim for 200 meters, then you bike for 6 miles, and then you run. The run portion is only 2K, so it's just a little bit over a mile, and you should be able to do that with no major problems. This is the benchmark of the triathlons that they're going to be doing, the super sprints. So this is where you say, okay, this is what it's going to be like for me in 2020 and move forward. You want details? Go to the GTF. And every time I see GTF, I want to say
something completely different.
Right. Yeah, I want to put an O at the end of it, right? GTF Facebook page, or show up on race day, and you'll learn everything that you need to know. And yeah, definitely go Niners. That's who I'm rooting for over the weekend. 8:17. Time to pretend to talk about sports. And we've actually got some expert testimony in the form of Mark Colby. We'll get to him in a second, but first, Michael Knight's got scrounged up another local story.
Yeah, the GSPN basketball tournament pool play ended with 2 games at the FD Jungle last night. Sanchez Sharks defeated the St. John's Knights, and the FD Friars defeated the Tees and Titans. Sharks play on Friday night in the 5th place game against the Guam Panthers. That'll be at 5:30. The Friars also finished pool play undefeated and will play the Islanders on Friday as well at 7:30 p.m. for the preseason championship at Father Duenas Memorial School.
All right, how about that? And a note for clarity, just before the top of the hour, we were talking about a random crime event, and apparently some woman driving through there trying to make up, just getting on with her day, and was accosted by another woman trying to get into her car.
Yeah, and I got the specifics. She called back and gave me better information on the location.
Tunwan White Road.
Tunwan White Road, out of Harvest School, in the neighborhood there, just kind of at the stop sign.
In not too far away from everybody's house. Yeah, so that's watch out for it in that area. They're going to
That's
be.
by Kenyatta store.
I think so. So, right around there. So watch out for some craziness in that area. 8:18 in the morning, and now we scare up Mark Colby, the voice of the Guam Major League and the voice of Special Olympics and the big tournaments that they had down there at the Guam baseball field. Good morning, Mark. How's it going?
Good morning, sir. I'm actually getting ready to walk out the door to head on down because game time today is at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I heard that.
Can I give you
why a change in the times? I thought we were doing like what was it, noon and 3 or something like that. Why'd they move it up?
So because the regular the tournament, the games were 7 innings. In the playoff pool play, that's 9 innings, and therefore they want to start the game a little earlier because they want to make sure they got time to get everything in.
Sure. Because they still don't have any lights in there, so everything has to be played by the daytime. By the time the sun goes down at night. Maybe we'll riff on that a little bit later on. In the meantime, interesting day yesterday. I thought Guam had better specs going into their game against the CNMI, but lost at the end of that, huh?
That is correct. In the first game of the day at 10 a.m., Kosharai beat Ponape by a score of 6-5. The winning pitcher was Jose Nena with 2 Ks. Alec Ned picked up a save. In a losing effort, Harvey Walbacher had 9 strikeouts. For the Kosharai squad, Dela Cruz Nena went 2 for 3, scoring 2 runs, had an RBI with a double. R.J. Joe went 2 for 3, scored a run with 2 RBIs and a double as well. In a losing effort for Ponape, C.J. Aldapot went 2 for 4 and scored a run. And Felix Villazone was 2 for 4 with a double. So with that, Koshrai improved to 1-2, and Pohnpei dropped to 0-3. In the afternoon game, it was CNMI beating Guam 5-0. Mike Munya picked up the win on the mound with 1 strikeout. Johnny Cruz for Team Guam got the loss. And for CNMI, AJ Lizama went 2 for 3, scored 2 runs, and had 2 RBIs. Darian Jones went 2 for 2 in his effort. In a losing effort for Team Guam, Sean Munya Jr. went 2 for 3. So CNMI 3-0. They'll be seeded number 1 for the playoffs. Guam 2-1, seeded number 2. Koshrai and Pohnpei to follow. So today at 10 a.m., Pohnpei takes on Koshrai. The winner of today's 10 a.m. game will advance to tomorrow and play the winner of. To play.
No, I hear what you're saying. So the winner of the 10 o'clock game is going to go on to play the winner of the noon game.
They'll play the loser of the Guam CNMI on Friday at 10 a.m.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're doing it that way.
It's a full play. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the winner of 1-2 goes on. So if Guam CNMI this afternoon, the winner goes automatically to the gold game. The loser of the Guam CNMI game today will play tomorrow at 10 a.m. against the winner of the Pohnpei Koshrai game at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
That's giving me
And the winner of that will then advance to the gold game against the winner of the first game or the second game today.
I don't have the aptitude to follow. I'll just tell you that right now. Whatever you said in the last 60 seconds just boggles and confuses me. And maybe
just show up at 10, buy a ticket, get some beer, and enjoy the games.
Yeah, just go watch baseball today, and then watch whoever wins and loses today play against the winners and the losers tomorrow. Enjoy that. 8:22, Mark. I appreciate the telephone call. Appreciate the details. I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Have a good day, sir.
You know, I will, sir. You have a fantastic one as well. It's 8:22 in the morning, and we're continuing to talk about sports. And what have I got here? The Niners and the Vikings? No, I didn't want to talk about that. Lots and lots of racing activity. There's a couple of things that are going on that you need to know about. First of the 5Ks is going to be taking place this weekend. It's going to be Saturday morning over at the Guam International Airport, the GIAA 5K. That will start at 6 o'clock. Everybody needs to show up over at Home Depot about 5 o'clock. Get yourself lined up for it as usual. There's always great prizes that they've got in store for you, and some decent entertainment too. They've got every once in a while, former senator and GIAA boss Tom Hadda gets up. He usually does about 10 or 15 minutes worth of stand-up comedy. And then he'll walk around. Yeah, and then he'll walk around the crowd. He does close-up magic. I don't know if you know this about.
I never knew. He's always been so quiet.
Multi-talented, that guy Tom Hadda. So anyway, so that's what's going to be taking place next week.
That's a fun run, though. It's uphill and then back downhill.
Yeah. So like I said, you get up to the top and you turn around just before you get to the Circle K.
Slide down the hill.
Yeah,
back to
it's gorgeous. And then the other race that we want you to be lined up for is the Academy of Our Lady of Guam's races on the 18th. Normally, I wouldn't give it that much time and attention, but since my daughter goes to that school, sister wants me to talk about it incessantly. So that's what's happening there.
Wear your shortest shorts.
I did that last year.
Double dog dare you.
I did that. Okay, I will.
And bring a 20 in case you want to drop it to pick up some chicks.
The Academy's race going to be taking place on the 18th, and then there is the Payless Kick the Fat race that's going to be coming up. You can register now for it. Kick the Fat is going to take place 15 days from today on the 25th. 5K, 10K run walk, and my hope is that this year I placed second in it last year in the 10K.
That is a huge race. There are so many people that go to that.
So my recommendation,
you did second.
I came in second place in the Masters division, but I didn't get the medal because something happened to my GPS or whatever, and they lost me in the race. So I had to wait until they had another medal made specifically for that. But it's like, man, I didn't get to go up and grab my medal. So I'm going to try to do that. I'll try to do that better this time. Yeah, like that's gonna happen. I'm a little bit slower this year than I was last year. So we got the 5K, 10K. There's a run walk that goes on with that. You can go and just Google PaylessFoundation.com and get to the front page and take care of the registration.
I think it doubles in size every year.
It's what you know what it is. It's the after, and then that's why there's a 10K, because there were just too many people participating in the 5K, so they said we'll split it up. We'll do a 5K and a 10K, but more and more people keep showing up for the 5K. More and more people show up for the 10K. It's easily the largest actual race on Guam, and you're going to want to get your registration taken care of, packet pickup, all of that stuff taken care of, and find a way to bring a bag with you. Right? You know, Payless is crazy about the whole bag thing. Lady wanted to sell me one for 99 cents yesterday. I said, no, just give me the cheap paper one.
I just carried it in my shirt.
Roll it. No, I had too much to carry. It's a 6-pack of something and a chicken in the other. But anyway, so
that's why God made fat.
Bring it with you to the Kick the Fat, because there's always this thing where they're basically giving away merchandise from Payless, and they've got a lot to celebrate. So bring a bag with you so you can take it all home. H1. Now I don't know if they're going to be having this as part of the giveaways, because they don't sell this in the Payless stores. Thank you very much, Dennis Bensour.
Are you sure they don't?
I've never seen this at the Payless markets. They have standard Doritos flavors, and I'm not sure that I'm not even sure that this is the same distributor of Doritos.
I think that is similar because I've tried those. It's similar to the Takis. Have you tried the Takis?
I'm never going to put anything in my mouth that's named Taki.
But the kids like
happen.
it. It's in the purple bag, and I think they have different colors. But
don't try to impress me by telling me that kids like something. Kids like Tide Pods for a while. You remember? So the answer
and
is,
they're sour as heck.
It's still no on that. It's the Doritos Dynamita. Están enroladas para explotar de sabor. They're rolled to explode with flavor.
Yeah, they look like little taquitos.
I think so.
Yeah.
So anyway, now the
you
reason
speak
why
Spanish like the Mexican cartel.
The reason why this is
Spanish like a white guy
has been brought to us. Have you heard your commercial for Mescla? Dude. Anyway,
yeah.
So Dennis Bensour picks this up, and we were talking about another Doritos flavor coming out of the States, Flaming Hot with lime. So this looks like it's about the same thing. Doritos Dynamite with chili lemon. So I'm going to have one of these, and you continue to talk while I see what this tastes like, all right? You're supposed to keep talking.
Oh, I'm supposed to keep talking. I wanted to hear you hear you chew.
Okay, this is hot.
Is it Pico, really?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's got my attention.
Oh, wow.
It tastes like Flaming Hot. It tastes like the Flaming Hot Cheetos,
cool.
But you get a lot of texture because it's basically a chip that's rolled up to look like a chorizo
So you
thing. Could
just do like dipping sauces and stuff.
And we can have that tahini conversation
Taco
again.
Bell has it's the chicken roll taco thing that the kids bring home, and
yes,
and they're like the closest thing that I could get to an empanada without eating an empanada.
All right, so
I don't know,
Dennis, thank you very much. This is good.
That reminds me of that.
This is one of those things where you need to be in a particular place at a particular time, lay it out so you know, because obviously you can't eat this while you're on the air. You can munch on this while you're sitting at your desk doing web surfing and whatever the deal is, but not to be used while you still have to. Talk about stuff on the air. It's 8:28 in the morning, 888-255-888-TALK. I think that's all the time that we've got to pretend to talk about sports today. All right, groovy. We'll return with headlines and more with Montesilva Tyron next.
The Points NFL Pick'em contest was a huge success. For the past several weeks, competitors have been giving their best guesses on weekly NFL football action, and it's been a lot of fun. Be sure and tune in Friday, January 10th, while we pretend to talk about sports for the grand prize winner reveal. The winner will be in studio to pick their choice of a brand new phone from GTA. Many thanks to all who participated in the contest, and especially to our sponsors, Current Guam and GTA.
Nice. Brother Rene Lau is online this morning. So is Sabine Chargaloff, who is echoing everyone's sentiments when she says, I am getting so sick and tired of all of the criminals getting free tickets to commit more crimes. There's a story in the front page of the Guam Daily Post. Convict in food stamp fraud walks. Yoli de Gaman, one of 2 government of Guam nutrition assistants accused of taking part in food stamp-related fraud, pled guilty to official misconduct as a misdemeanor, but she walked freely after her sentencing. And looks like we got states' rights after, I think they're both testifying on each other, but my guess is that neither one of them is going to get any kind of prison time at all. I don't know that the federal government is crazy about putting elderly women in jail for a long time. But that's one of those, and it goes along with all the other stories and a whole bunch of others that you'll see that we'll talk about here in the next half hour or so, where we've got people that are just making monkeys out of the criminal justice system. The crooks have got it all sorted out now. They know which lawyer to talk to. They know what the lawyer needs to say, and they know which courtroom they need to go into to get absolutely the most lenient treatment that is available to thugs here on Guam. 8:30 in the morning, it is time for a look at headlines now with news from the Guam Daily Post. Here's Montecillo Tyron.
Jotnia Mayor Jesse Bloss hasn't said if he'll resign, but he has indicated that he'll assign a municipal planning council from jail. Bloss is being held until his trial starts in February. He's being held on bribery charges. And Jotnia has since been without a leader. If and when the council is impaneled, members can now handle duties of the mayor. The mayor's council has asked Bloss to resign. Southern residents will be allowed to voice their concerns on public safety. A town hall meeting will be held this evening at the Maritzo Senior Center. Senator Jim Moylan's been hosting these town hall meetings to address his bills and also to get some feedback from villagers on public safety issues. Tonight's meeting starts at 6 o'clock. And GWA will cut the ribbon today at the newly upgraded Umatic Maritzo wastewater treatment plant. $21 million in upgrades were done to the 40-year-old plant that serves more than 500 customers down south. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper or log on to their website at postguam.com.
They have these little pools there. I mean, they're not little pools. I mean, they're big like the Agania swimming pool, and they're green and
like the Agania swimming pool,
just like the Agania swimming pool. And there's a thing out in the middle. I think it's an aerator. There's this massive pump in the middle, and there's a little fountain of this poopy water that it goes and it aerates. And my understanding is that but it doesn't smell like that. If you're resident down south, you drive by the place, you walk by the place,
and if you've ever gone to the northern treatment plant, you can appreciate that it doesn't.
Oh my
smell,
God!
Right?
Yeah. Northern wastewater treatment plant over by the Two Lovers Point is just a wreck. But this one here, you cannot smell the fact that the water that was in there was in somebody's toilet at some point or another.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah. And so they're cleaning it up and put it. My understanding is they take it and they put it up and they let it percolate a couple of times through the actual earth before it goes back out into the ocean through the Togwan River. So they have a really cool process that they've got down there. And if
they should make a scenic thing out of it if it's that pretty.
Well, I don't want to say it's like pretty, but I mean it's kind of pretty on an industrial. Oh my God, I can't believe there's poopy water in there. So
and
I think
it comes out in a fountain.
Yeah, and it's a pretty fountain that they've got there. So I should have taken pictures. Listen, it's 8:33 in the morning. What again? No, you want me to stop down for commercials? I can do that. All right, the iConnect time is 8:33. Call them at 888-8888 and ask them how they can save you some money. They got push to talk. In fact, the only guys on Guam that do push to talk. Talk to the guys over there, and they'll tell you how they will do that and make your business that much better.
Happy New Year, folks. KFC's Colonel Sanders here. It's back. The great KFC chicken sale. The $5 box has 2 KFC boneless crispy chicken strips and 2 sides. Our $10 chicken share is your choice of 12 KFC hot wings, 8 chicken strips or popcorn chicken. And my KFC $20 wow bucket is back. Wow. 10 pieces original recipe drums and thighs with 2 large red rice. It's a great way to start 2020. This sale only happens in January, so visit us at KFC today. It's finger licking good.
What's that? Heidi Mallendorf typing in this morning. The northern wastewater treatment plant will be moving to secondary treatment. No more smell in 2 years. What she is saying is one of the largest CIP projects on Guam. They will spend $172 million on that. And the good news is a big chunk of that $172 million didn't come from you or I. That's, what do they call that? The Sweetwater from Japan and the military buildup, so you can thank them later. Is it time for our last look at traffic? Things were looking kind of ruddy of all places over at Tutuan Park. You know where that is? That's that little triangle park in between Sinahanya and Agana Heights as you're making your way over by the to the courthouse. That looks like it is about, I don't want to say it's totally cleared up because it looks like there still might be a little bit of confusion for traffic going up and down that hill into Agana Heights and Sinahanya. A little bit of traffic going in all three directions over at the Kipuha Loop. Expect some delays through there and around the Agana Shopping Center intersection because there's construction there. Roy T. Demion Street is not looking real pretty. Anything up and down Kenyatta Toto Loop right now on the way into Harvest. And Tunwan White Street is moving slower than usual. And that might have to do with some crazy woman trying to get into people's cars over there. Expect some delays going northbound as you get closer to the intersection of 810 and 16 and the Lumpia House. Let me just pause on that for a second. And the Lumpia House. I don't talk about this establishment as much as I should, but I like it there. And it is one of those places where you go, if you've got a craving, and just talking about it now, I feel like I'm developing a craving for specifically lumpia from the Lumpia House. There's going to be some of that in my future. Sumai's looking all right and as good as it is going to be looking around now. If there's any accidents, things that you think everybody needs to know about, my number is 888-8255. That's right.
Want to grow your business? Start a new venture? Or stay ahead of the competition? You can. With Docomo Pacific Smart Business Solutions tailored to your specific needs and ambitions, you can do it all. Partner with a network with best-in-class network coverage, state-of-the-art communication platforms, and a team dedicated to providing you with premium support. Call 688-2677 to start your journey to success today. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
Chatty crowd on Facebook here this morning. Troy's having conversations with Joe's out there. Smug Wimp who says, these days I support no legislature at all. But yeah, if we got to have a legislature, part-time is better than full-time. And he spells full, F-O-O-L. Gus Castro Zasanga says, yes, part-time legislature will get more done. You've got a chance to chime in with your thoughts either on Facebook Live or hit me up on thepoint.gu. There is an online poll, and we're asking the question, what's your preference? Do you want a full-time legislature or a part-time legislature? And so far, the majority of the people that have gone to the website prefer a part-time legislature, but that's not everybody. So if you haven't voted yet, go to thepoint.gu, not .com. We are on Guam, and you can get a Guam, a .gu domain, so we did. Troy Torres says, Nick is the comment winner this morning, talking about nose pickers, and that is half of the phrase that comes from the Ray Gibson Show, nose pickers and poll clickers. In the past, there are people who work in the government of Guam who show up, pick their nose, and wait for the boss to say, "Hey, Ray Gibson's doing a poll on the part-time and full-time legislature, so I need you to go to the website, and your job today is to make sure that all of the votes are for no. I like the legislature the way it is." That's why we got that. Who else is playing around? I got Bill Chaco Jr. is there, Candy Knudsen Guzman, Dennis Rodriguez Jr., former senator and the candidate for governor of Guam. And I gotta imagine that, after a year of pretty much nothing going on with a new administration and a new legislature, people are coming up to you and saying, Dennis, could you run again? Would you? My buddy Charlie Hermosa is online. I see Eric Mendel, Dennis Bensor, Pete Guerrero, Darlene Blas, Sharky Cruz, Carlos Barreto, Shayna Bentley, who is celebrating the fact that she just got her braces off. And we think that's a big deal. You are pretty with braces. And you're just as pretty without. Sunny Conception is there. With regards to meth, we should ask ourselves where the funds are coming from. You think about all the money that's swimming around in this economy, and how much money it could be involved in all of these sales and purchases and selling of crystal methamphetamine. I do kind of wonder what that underground is worth. Debbie Cannett is there. Juanita Bloss, and I think it was Debbie that says it feels like we're outnumbered sometimes between the good guys around here and the growing number of crooks that we've got. She says, Debbie Cannett says, I'm certain the druggies have us outnumbered, and we wonder why we are in the state that we're in. I put it down to the lack of enforcement of the laws, and when the cops are able to get somebody in handcuffs and behind bars, they're absolutely just kind of let off the hook by the criminal justice system. Huffam and Florita, Rooster is there, and plenty of other people that are chiming in here this morning. John Price says, hey, this is John Price from Terminix Pest Control. Following up with you in regards to roaches in the kitchen. Yeah. We got some of that around here. So yeah, how do you take care of that? You have somebody come in and spray it. My buddy Kevin was running around the radio station yesterday lamenting the fact that there's ants in the building because we eat here. And I said, well, call the exterminator because we're always going to have food here. It's a radio station, about a 24-hour-a-day operation. Somebody has always got something in the microwave or in the refrigerator or on their desk, and that's the way we'll deal with it in 2020, isn't it? 20 away from the top of the hour, 888-825-5888-TALK. Conversation that came up the other day because the governor and Josh Tenorio have a plan that they've been able to put together, working, quote, with the stakeholders, and among them is to change the hours on the availability of off-premise sales on alcohol. And this is an idea that I have advocated over the years with the same voice. Unfortunately, this is going to end up being a case where responsible drinkers like Dr. Ron McNitch and I are going to be punished because of the misdeeds of the miscreants out there that can't control their liquor and want to start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. At any rate, I thought Dr. McNinch had an interesting proposal in his editorial this morning in the Guam Daily Post. Good morning, Doc. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Ray. Happy day, Guam.
Happy day. And so, with regard to the governor's plans here on curbing alcohol sales, now expanding the time, contracting the time, actually, that alcohol is available at off-premise locations by only allowing it to be sold between 2 p.m. and midnight. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, basically all people will do is just buy more alcohol during the alcohol available hours. The main problem with alcohol sales is the $5 a quart vodka.
Ooh, how about $4 6-packs of beer?
Yeah, that's not as bad as the $5 quart vodka. The $5 quart vodka is the really just the drink that's causing some of the more egregious problems here in our community.
Now, you're a doctor at the university, a professor of stuff. Where is that coming from? I mean, I'm not asking for empirical evidence, but tell me how you're sourcing that. Who are you talking to that says, no, it ain't the beer, it's not the hours, it's the availability of very, very cheap lightning water?
Yeah, we followed this very, very closely for several years, and we looked at it's not just $5 a six-pack, it's $3 a six-pack in some places.
Mm-hmm. Well, we get to a point where booze is cheaper than water.
Yeah, and Dr. Judy Guthertz did a really neat study about, just 3 or 4 months ago on the availability of alcohol, and we haven't put it out yet. I think we should put it out soon. But she actually, her and her students went through and reviewed this pretty closely. And as far as alcohol times or sale times and things like that, generally speaking, the main thing that will happen if the sales are restricted per hour is simply people will just buy a lot more alcohol earlier on than normal. That will become the pattern of behavior. Mm-hmm. We don't really have a bootlegging issue here. That is, we don't have side sales where certain kinds of stores will sell it to you under the table. We really don't have that kind of behavior here very much right now. but sometimes those become spin-off behaviors once you restrict sales that way.
Yeah, okay, but I can see that. And people were concerned that was what was going to happen when B.J. Cruz changed the hours for nightclubs, is that people would go in and immediately start binging. And I think that's exactly what happens. That nobody is going to tell the kids that they need to show up earlier, so they'll start hitting the bars about 11 o'clock and order as much of the strongest booze that they can get their hands on between then and close of sales.
Yeah, I think what I would love to see, and again, these are all ideas that are being formed, and it's not that I have any contrary opinion to the governor or lieutenant governor or anything else. I agree. I think alcohol is a problem. So it's a social problem in my view more than a criminal justice problem. That is, I'll give you an example. Remember when the woman held the little baby over the railing?
Yes.
That became a criminal justice problem. To me, that's a social work problem, not a criminal justice problem. There should have been a family and children's services person assigned to that young woman. She should have been heavily counseled. She should have been monitored. Instead, it was thrown into the criminal justice system, and she was put in jail and all these other things. I think we need to really relook at how we approach these problems.
Well, I was delighted to read your alternative, and I'm not exactly sure. And maybe working with another component of alcohol control here would be that you cannot buy off-premise alcohol of any kind unless you can show identification. And if your identification says, if your driver's license or your real ID says that you are prohibited because you've got issues with driving drunk or problems with alcohol abuse, getting into fights with your old lady, all of that stuff, it will show up on your identification card, and you'll be prohibited from buying the booze.
Right, and that's you see. Instead of controlling by things like age or other kinds of factors, we're controlling by individual behavior. And we can do that on an island. It's hard to do it in the U.S. mainland because you just walk from Alabama to Georgia and drink legally because it varies from location to location, unless there was a federal law. But on an island, we could regulate who drinks and how often and things like that simply by regulating it to the person.
Well,
and,
there's always going to be a workaround, and if something happened to me and all of a sudden my driver's license got changed to note that I'm no good on any more than about 3 or 4 beers, then I just have Mike go buy my beer.
Right, and then 2 things happen. If the police get called, or if you encounter with law enforcement and you're a person who's not supposed to be drinking at all.
Yeah.
They know it right away. They don't have to go through any other special steps. And the other thing is, the guy who buys you alcohol, he should get the no alcohol ban on him also.
Right.
Because he hasn't acted responsibly. Drinking's a privilege, not really a right.
I think it would be an interesting conversation. I hope that somebody that is helping the governor put this plan together spend some time with you. I think one of the other things, and I've discussed this at length over the years, is I think we've got alcohol density issues. I think there are too many places per 1,000 people in village neighborhoods and districts where you got off-premise sales. So if you go someplace and they know that you're lousy on booze and they refuse to sell you a drink or a 6-pack or a bottle, you just go 20 feet down the road and there's another mom and pop store where they might look the other way.
Yeah, a few years ago, one of the senators wanted to extend the 500-foot rule to include daycare centers. And so the 500-foot rule is you can't have a alcohol sales premises within 500 feet of a school, church, or hospital. And so they wanted to extend it to daycare centers, but if you put daycare centers on a map and put a 500-foot circle all around them, it'd be really, really hard to have alcohol sales anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked at what the behavior was, and the concern was people were drinking in daycare center parking lots. and well, I'm like, well, why don't you just ban drinking in daycare center parking lots rather than, making a 500-foot rule? And then the other thing is, and I'm talking about bars. I'm talking about bar establishments, not necessarily like mom and pop.
Yeah, well, the distinction is on-premise and off-premise.
And then, so we went and we looked at the individual case for that individual problem, and people weren't buying alcohol and dropping beer cans all over the parking lot from the little nightclub. They're dropping them from the mom and pop store.
Yes.
So this law would not have affected the mom and pop store, which was pretty much fueling the alcohol cans being dumped all over the parking lots. So again, we have to be really careful when we make policy to really address the issue and not create, kind of a law of unintended consequences.
Right. Well, the unintended consequence is that that people like you and I, that I'd like to consider are responsible drinkers, are going to have to now schedule our drinking purchase time, our booze purchasing times, to fit in with the time period. Probably not going to be a problem for most people. You think ahead. You're going to have a couple of bottles of wine or 12-pack of beer over the weekend, and so you buy it on Friday while the place is open, or you get in there before midnight. But it's just the idea that if you wanted to have a drink, if you wanted to go to mom and pop store at noon, or as my buddy Shane is pointing out, at 6 o'clock in the morning, because he's been working all night, and 6 in the morning is his happy hour, won't be able to do it because he'd be outside the law.
Yeah, since my weight loss surgery, I'm like a lightweight drinker. I can drink like 2 beers at the most.
Well, you can't tell, but you got no more fat pouches to store it in.
I can't even drink beer because it's too sudsy or whatever. It's incredible. I think in general, I think a rational approach to alcohol, a pragmatic approach is better. And I do think also we should look at social work kinds of alternatives rather than simple law enforcement, criminal justice types of alternatives.
Well, I hope they give you a call on this. I got my buddy says, Shane says you're absolutely right. This is a free society, not a nanny state. Dr. McNinch is on the money. Let people be responsible for themselves. If you get in trouble because you cannot handle your booze, then I'm sorry. We're going to give you a new identity card. It'll be a regular old driver's license, but there will be a note that says that you are not to be not allowed to purchase alcohol. You've ruined that privilege for yourself.
Absolutely. And one final little thing, and that is, I'm a big believer in replacement theory. And so if we tell people they can't drink alcohol, they'll do other things, right? And so they'll replace the alcohol with something else. And the same theory applies to legalization. And so now that there's going to be legalization of marijuana, people who illegally sell marijuana are simply going to replace illegally selling marijuana with illegally selling other things, like meth or cocaine or whatever else.
Well, frankly, I'm surprised there are still marijuana dealers.
Well, we that's the nice thing about trying to stand up a bureaucracy that takes so long.
Yeah.
But in the near future, once that's resolved, we're going to have to deal with the replacement aspects of the legalization of marijuana.
I think we're going to see what that end resolution looks like. Hopefully, the people, Vanessa, and the people at the Cannabis Control Board have in mind the idea that whatever it is that they put together, whatever bureaucracy, whatever mechanisms, whatever policies that go into place, the end goal should be that it is cheaper to get your hands on marijuana, recreational marijuana, in the future under a regulated system than it is now. So watch very carefully what happens with taxation, what happens very carefully with what happens with licensing, distribution, and testing, so that we are not higher priced. Recreational marijuana, legal recreational marijuana, is not higher priced than the illegal underground gray market stuff that's going to pop up.
Wow. Talk radio and public policy. What a wonderful message.
It is a neat combination. There was the public policy question I kind of wanted to ask you a second ago, what your thoughts were on things like part-time legislatures and any predictions you might have for what I think is going to be an interesting political race in 2020.
Sure. The Guam Organic Act basically dictates how and when and where and why the legislature can meet.
Okay.
And that's the answer to the part-time legislature. That is, the legislature decides and no one else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jimmy's got a bill that would allow the legislature to determine whether they're a full-time body or a part-time body.
Well, even now, the legislature can decide that itself.
I agree. I agree. They ought to be able to. I've been toying with the idea of running for public office, and if I can drag another 9 people that think like me into this new body of the legislature, the 36, the day one, we'll get together and say rules and regulations for the 36 Guam legislature we are a part-time body, period, and move on to solve the other problems.
And they certainly could do that. Now, one other quick thing I was going to mention, you're talking about running for the legislature?
Yeah.
Why would you stoop that low?
Because I like the job that Mike is doing in Congress. I think I'll let him do that for a little bit longer. And the idea here, and don't get me wrong, is I agree. It would be a stoop low. This is like asking Michelangelo to paint your kitchen cabinets after he's done with the Sistine Chapel. But my idea is, I think if we go back in and we start asking statesmen, if we start asking people that have real stakes in the community and not necessarily interested in a political career to do something, we can actually elevate the body as opposed to the bunch of clowns that we've got in there now.
You know, go for it. In fact, I was in a meeting back in about 34 years ago, and Newt Gingrich was talking to Candace about running, and he said, you know, if you want to win, you have to run. And you can never win if you don't run.
That's right. So what the heck? It's my other goal is to help rebuild the Republican Party in the same way that the founders, including my grandfather, did many years ago. 8:54. Mark Cruz is on the line. Wants to talk to you. Mark, you're on with Dr. Ron McNinch. Go.
Hey, Dr. McNinch. I just have one question. So if it's a part-time legislature, of course you're going to have a full-time job somewhere else. What if that full-time job happens to be working down at the front office, or as a chief of staff or something like that? Would the law have to be changed to where you'd be conflicted out if you worked for the other branch?
Generally, GovGuam employees are not allowed under the Hatch Act to run for office.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so then that would take a lot of major changes if they were able to swing that one. But thank you for your input. I didn't think about that one.
Yeah, well, the important thing, though, at the end of it, if I follow Senator Moreland's plans as closely as I think I've got it, is that any of the partisan guys that we've got in there now that would end up becoming classified employees, nonpartisan employees of the legislature, and their role would be more of research and guidance on the legislation, as opposed to having guys in there that are nothing more than political operatives. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. Thanks for your time, guys.
All right, Mark. Talk to you pretty soon. Dr. McNinch, I always appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to working on educating the kids.
Sounds great. Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. 888-8255, 888-TALK. Morning, Ray. What's the use of creating laws against crime when law enforcement makes the arrest and prosecution does their part, but the judicial just lets them go? This is what ticks me off. And this comes from a police officer wrote this. He sent it to my WhatsApp. A police officer wrote this. What's the use of creating laws against crime when law enforcement makes the arrest, prosecution does their job, but the judicial system just lets them go? 8:56, and I like to go through the Guam Daily Post. If for no other reason to see which side the judicial system is in terms of law enforcement today, because sometimes you look at the Post and you see what Nick Delgado's writing on the court beat, and it's all these stories about how somebody goes into Sicola's courtroom or something like that, and then he starts crying about, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that meth was illegal, and I didn't know I was supposed to not try to import it from the States and sell it over near school. You know, my mom is really sick, and I'm the only caregiver, and my kids don't have shoes for school, so I need to sell methamphetamine. And everybody in the courtroom will dry their teary eyes and say, okay, tell you what, you're guilty. Oh, you're guilty. And the plea deal is going to be, I'm guilty. I'm sorry. I did what I had to do. But I got a haircut and a nice shirt. And so can you please let me off? And what seems to be happening with a lot more regularity is the answer is, yeah, okay, well, you're guilty, and we're going to give you a 5-year sentence, but we'll suspend it. or we'll convert it to time served. Go and sin no more. And the thing is, as much as I'm fond of saying that ICE makes you stupid, apparently ICE doesn't make you stupid in all things, because these guys, these meth heads out there, have figured out how to game the system. And it's not just that they're gaming the local system. They're also gaming in the federal system. Where's this guy? Federal defendant's release has been revoked. A guy waiting to be sentenced in federal court for trying to steal copper wire on Anderson Air Force Base. This is a federal crime, right? The guy's he's got a federal violation on him. Albert Taimanglu appeared before District Court Judge, Guam Magistrate Judge Joaquin Menabusan Wednesday, where he admitted to the violations. The probation office there, they're making the monkey out of the probation guys, even on the federal side. Probation office said that Taimanglu failed to report for multiple drug tests and didn't report to probation for the month of December. The first time he didn't show up to get his pee-pee tested should have been the time where they said, okay, we're done. We gave you a chance. We thought you were going to be all right, but no, you weren't, so we're putting you in the clink today. But it didn't happen. Multiple drug tests that he failed to report to, didn't show up to probation. How hard is that? To just show up to, I got to go every month or so to go see a guy and let him know what I've been up to. Yeah, I'm working, taking care of the kids. Yeah, I got a job the other day. All of that stuff doesn't show up for probation. They finally got caught up with the guy, and now apparently his release has been revoked after multiple chances. And that's the way these guys view the system. They know that if they take a gamble, the dice will probably lay out on their side. It's, 9 already? All right, groovy. The radio station is KUSG, Hagutnya 93.3. This is The Point.
A warning for Iran. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The morning after Iran launched missiles at U.S. interests in Iraq, President Trump saying Iran will never have a nuclear weapon while he is president. And he says the U.S. will take further action, hitting them in the wallet.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime.
Those sanctions could include Iran's financial, energy, shipping, and military sectors. He also called on the countries who are still part of the Iran nuclear deal to abandon it. This afternoon, members of Congress were brought up to speed on the events that led to the drone strike that took out Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Tomorrow, the House will vote on a measure that would limit any future action in Iran.
House Democrats will force a vote Thursday on a war powers resolution aimed at preventing escalation with Iran without congressional approval.
That the administration is still citing a 17-year-old AUMF that applied to a totally different set of circumstances ought to be a cause of concern for all members of Congress.
Virginia Democrat Jerry Connolly left a briefing with senior administration officials unconvinced, he says, an airstrike last week in Iraq targeting and killing an Iranian general was necessary. Republicans leaving that same briefing were mostly satisfied. Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio said decisive action saved dozens, if not hundreds, of American lives.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. A short time ago, 2 rockets exploded in Baghdad's Green Zone near the U.S. Embassy compound.
One of the rockets landed near the Tigris River, the other one hitting a building that is under construction. No casualties are being reported, but these officials say they believe they are Katyusha rockets, likely fired by Iranian-backed Iraqi Shia militias.
Fox's Trey Ingst in Baghdad. America is listening to Fox News.
GRMC's cardiology department treats most complex heart problems. In our catheterization lab, cardiologists use imaging equipment to treat clogged arteries that can cause heart attacks or heart failure. We perform balloon angioplasty, stenting, and other life-saving cardiac procedures. If you suffer from a heart condition, have your provider refer you to GRMC's cardiology clinic at 645-5500. GRMC, where patients are partners.
At the mall, as you enjoy your shopping, dining, or entertainment, you could also win 3 great cars from Atkins Kroll and thousands of prizes in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game. Present your mall receipts and have a chance to win the renowned performance Chevrolet Camaro, the unapologetic rugged Toyota 4Runner, or the head-turning Lexus ES350 Luxury. Getaways to Manila, courtesy of Philippine Airlines, plus prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. The more you shop, the more chance to win in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressing condolences to the families of the victims of yesterday's crash of a Ukrainian jet in Iran, which killed 176 people. At least 63 were Canadian.
Your loss is indescribable, and this is a heartbreaking tragedy. While no words will erase your pain, I want you to know that an entire country is with you.
Trudeau saying he expects Canada to have a role in the investigation. Arraignment today for 3 people charged in the disappearance of a Connecticut mother of 5, including her estranged husband. Fotis Dulos has been charged in the murder of Jennifer Dulos. He's being held on $6 million bond.
We are relieved, we're optimistic, we're looking forward to getting the discovery, and we very much want to try this case. Mr. Dulos wants to clear his name.
Fotis Dulos' attorney Norm Pattis, Dulos' girlfriend, and his former attorney also appeared in court. They've each been charged with conspiracy to commit murder. A search is on for another person reported missing at a ski resort following an avalanche.
The Silver Mountain Ski Resort in Idaho said Tuesday everyone had been accounted for. 2 bodies were recovered from an avalanche and 5 skiers were rescued. The extent of their injuries was not immediately clear, and the Shoshone County Sheriff's Department said they believed the search was over. But Wednesday morning, they reported someone called the resort and said they could not find a family member. That person was confirmed to have been skiing at the time of the avalanche. Now an intense search is underway with rescue teams and dog units. The mountain has been closed today for skiing. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The Oscars will have no host again this year. The president of ABC Entertainment saying the broadcast will focus on what worked last year, what he called huge entertainment value, big musical numbers, big comedy, and star power. Last year's broadcast attracted 29.6 million viewers, the second smallest in history, but 12% more than 2018. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in already? Those high-interest credit cards at 16, 18, even 24%? Well, we have a New Year's solution for you. A Bank Pacific personal loan with rates as low as 4.65% to pay off those expensive credit cards. It's easy, it's fast, and it's as low as 4.65% APR.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
It's the Ray Gibson Show, being brought to you by American President Lines, APL, global presence with a local home.
News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out. The Ray Gibson Show.
Something up here, just because I'm kind of curious. We're talking about the alcohol control in the last hour of the program, and there's might be looking at changing the hours of availability for off-premise sales, off-premise as opposed to on-premise. So you and I go eat at a restaurant someplace, and we want a beer. That's an on-premise sale. And you see sometimes it'd be a sign over at the door says no alcohol beyond this point because it's illegal. That means that you're going on the premise to off the premise with that booze, and that's illegal.
What are you trying to say? I've been breaking the law?
You know what? That's one of the reasons why I wear jackets sometimes when I go eat is because you got these pockets in them.
That's what fanny pack is
you
for.
put the beer right there in the pocket.
Yeah,
and you walk right out the door.
That's what the tummy pouch is for. You know, just
so that's a distinction. So that's an on-premise sale, and for the most part, and in fact, something that Bob Kelly and I were talking about yesterday, and it kind of rolled around in my head a little bit more, is the deal that we need to control here. I think the establishment of the control is retail off-premise sales of of alcohol. On-premise sales, no problem. In fact, they're thinking that you ought to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and especially down in Tumon, where you got tourists that get off the airplane at all kinds of hours of the day and night. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I travel, I consider myself to be in an international time zone here. Universal coordinated time, universal coordinated beer drinking time. And if I pull into a town at 11 o'clock in the morning and I got to wait until 3 for my hotel room to be ready, yeah, I might go find someplace and grab a cold one and drink a beer on the sidewalk.
You know, the fact is, day on or day off, I wake up at 3 o'clock every single morning.
Yep.
It would do me a great pleasure to know that at 9 I could go to an establishment in Lower Tumon and have that whiskey sour.
And why not? And why not? Or an amaretto sour if you're feeling, kind of flamey. But the fun here, and it would make for an interesting conversation. There are people that go to bars and get drunk. It happens all the time. But at least there is a modicum of adult control. There is a bartender or two that might look at you, as in fact has happened as recently as last night. I won't tell you where, won't tell you when, but there was a guy in the bar that clearly had too much, and he was told by the owners of the establishment that he had to go, and that there was a taxi waiting for him outside. They'd called the taxi because they didn't want the guy to get on the road. At any rate, so you've got at least a modicum of adult control over what happens with these drunks and their booze. But it's the off-premise stuff, and the idea that there are so many places and so many hours of the days and the nights that the people can go out and get the booze. Now, have we abused that as a community, as an at-large? Have we abused that over the years so much so that it would be an easy thing for the governor to do, establish new times, shorter time periods for which off-premise sales are going to be allowed? That's what they're talking about now. Are there other alternatives? Well, we were talking with Dr. Ron McNitch about a possible alternative where everybody can buy booze whenever they want to buy it from wherever they want to buy it from until they step out of line, until they are arrested on a felony charge, or beating up the wife, or beating up the husband, beating on the kids after they've had too much to drink. If alcohol was a contributing factor to that, or a moving violation like a driving while intoxicated, then you have to go to the Department of Revenue and Taxation, Motor Vehicle Division, and get yourself a driver's license that has a stamp on it, one of these little sin stamps on it that says that Ray and Mike cannot buy beer or alcohol of any kind anymore.
No way you could enforce that.
Well,
it's totally unenforceable because you're relying on the honor system of the person buying it.
Well, the honor system of the person selling it to you has to be able to look at it and say, I'm sorry, I cannot. Every transaction involving alcohol requires ID. And so if somebody walks into a store and flashes an identification that has this little sin mark on it, it is up to the person behind the counter to accept the transaction or not.
Extra
and if
$5 can take care of it.
Well, extra $5 takes care of it. But if the guy gets in trouble again and says, yeah, I bought this over at the mom and pop store in the corner, then ABC goes to the mom and pop store and takes their alcohol away and says you are no longer permitted to sell alcohol because you're not living inside the rules. And that might actually be more palatable. It's like gun control. They're going to come out with more rules and regulations on guns and things like that I'm going to have to follow because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the guys that are shooting up schools and causing all kinds of trouble with shooting off their guns on New Year's Eve, they're not paying any attention to those laws. They do whatever they want to do because they know they ain't going to get caught. So it's one of those things where I don't want to be painted with the same brush as the drunkards that can't handle their liquor.
Right.
So that's all there is to that. Now there's another option, and you've lived in places where they've had this kind of thing, where if you want to buy beer and wine and spirits, guess what? You have to go to the company store. It is. I remember they have this in Cairns, Australia. And the reason why it's vivid in my head now is we were staying at a place. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but we were staying in one of these kind of condo hotels that they've got in Cairns. Real nice place, and it had a little package store downstairs. And I went downstairs. We'd just flown in. I went downstairs to the little package store and got me some breads and I got me some Slim Jims, the Australian version of Tim Tams and whatever. And I said, "Excuse me, where do you keep the beer here?" And because it otherwise looked like it was a fully equipped store. I said, where do you guys keep the beer? And the guy says, we don't sell beer. I said, why not? He said, because we're not allowed to, mate, we're not allowed to sell beer. If you want beer, you have to go to the beer store, the beer and wine and spirit store down the street. And that's run by the government of Australia. They will control everything from the importation to the retail sales. And when the government is in control to that degree, guess what? They can make all kinds of decisions. It's like the swimming pool at Agania. You go, are we open or are we closed? Well, gee, today I feel like we're closed. So what about that?
Uh-oh. Sorry.
Yeah, I know exactly where your head is at. So I'm wondering, and it would not be all that far-fetched to do something like that. Just to say that there are no more off-premise alcohol sales on Guam anymore. If you want, then you have to go to the Gov Guam Tendon Gibetnu booze store down the street, and it will never be open at the right time. They'll never have what you want, and it'll probably end up being overpriced.
Yeah, we should just try to avoid giving this government anything else to have to look over. After all, they let a cigarette warehouser here get away with $40 million.
$14 million worth of I'll pay you next time.
Yeah.
9:13 in the morning. Yeah, well, there's that. I'm just saying, when I'm trying to remember the name of the temperance movements and the people involved in the temperance movement.
Oh yeah,
before Prohibition,
yeah.
And so I want to make sure that the conversation doesn't veer off in that direction where people say, yeah, well, because it's a bunch of do-gooding ladies, right? So they're going to say, yeah, we have so many problems with alcohol on Guam. Maybe we should just stop selling it. Period.
Yeah, well,
you just never know.
Prohibition never works, and you can't legislate morality. I grew up in a system you've described where you have certain locations where you can get liquors and spirits, the alcohols. Now you can go and you can buy beer at the convenience stores and other places, and they're guided by the same time law. But the particular liquor stores where you actually buy the hard stuff, they have a different set of laws that they have to go by, and they're only open certain points. And there are plenty of them. I mean, it's not like there's a restriction on how many of them there can be or anything like that. But that is the one place that you have to go in order to get the hard stuff.
So there are different ways of doing this, and not everything is going to be palatable to everybody in the community. But it is time that we recognize that we've got a problem with substance abuse of one kind or another out here, whether it's alcohol or whether it is crystal methamphetamine. I don't know. If anybody that doesn't realize that we've got a problem with crystal methamphetamine has definitely got their head up there. I mean, in their sand, because there's big problems that we have here. That, and then there's just, I think, the general craziness of people. There was we were talking earlier about a lady driving to work this morning down by the school Harvest, and somebody tried to get into her car. What sane person does that? Now, was it somebody that was attempting to rob the woman? To get into the car and to rob the lady, or was it just somebody that probably needs to spend more time at the Division of Public Craziness?
Yeah, it's just and that's
it's
the
not
thing
the name
we're
of the department. It's just off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Yeah,
we used to call it Department of Mental Health, but they said no. There's a schism attached to that. So we have to politically. Behavioral health is what we'll call it now. And just more options and more opportunities for the governments of all kinds to mess with our lives. It's 9:16 in the morning. And Guam has made, I don't want to say Guam has made headlines. So we've got these guys at the, animal welfare, animal whatever group that has been bullying Guam ever since this cockfighting ban has taken place. Now they said, oh, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it so that if you do cockfighting on Guam, we're going to institute some kind of a reward program. So if your neighbors catch you cockfighting, they drop a dime on you, and it's $2,500. How about that? So we've got that, and then what was it? They came out, and now they're bugging the governor now to have Chelsea Munya-Brecht lean on importations more, and they're all hysterical about illegal importations of birds. Anyway, so that story has gone a little bit wide. There's an outfit called WattAgNet, W-A-T-T agnet.com, and writer there, Roy Graber, I love this. Combines his Midwestern farming background with his knowledge of economics and agriculture policy to offer a deeper look at the poultry and pig industry. What's he worried about? He's worried. This will interest you. Will cockfighting birds from the United States spread VND into Guam? And I looked and said, VD? What? Chickens? What? Cockfighting birds with VD?
I have to start rethinking my diet.
For more than a year and a half, we have received notifications from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service regarding new cases of virulent Newcastle disease. This is the part of the program where I say I learn something new every day.
Yeah, right.
I've never heard of virulent Newcastle disease. Most of these cases, according to APHIS, have occurred in, quote, backyard exhibition chickens. So somebody says backyard exhibition chickens. What comes to mind? What are you imagining here?
I don't know. I'm seeing something like with a little stage, vaudeville type situation. I don't know.
At first,
I'm sure I'm overthinking it.
Roy Graber says, at first I thought the phrase meant poultry being raised by 4-H members to exhibit at their county and state fairs, but it didn't take long for me to learn that it wasn't what APHIS meant at all. Backyard exhibition chickens is just a politically correct way of saying cockfighting birds. And he's talking about Roy is on our side on this. By the way, I read through the entire article, and he talks about how he's critical of this guy Pachel and the movement that he and others have with this animalwelfare.com people or whatever it is. Cockfighting is now illegal in the United States and territories, but obviously it is continuing in some areas. Apparently, there's no signs of it slowing down in the U.S. territory of Guam, and its legislative body apparently has no intention of stopping it because leaders say that residents of Guam had no say in the outlawing of cockfighting. Quote, he's quoting Tina Barnes here. No input from the people of Guam was ever received. As a result, the Guam legislature passed an amendment that would make spending local funds to enforce this unfunded mandate as the lowest priority for the government of Guam, the legislature announced through the office of Tina Munya Barnes. Regardless of whether you like cockfighting, you have to, I love the way he puts this, you have to respect Guam's reasoning for not enforcing the law. You could consider it taxation without representation. Maybe there's Sedfrey Linsongen's defense on this. Transporting and fighting cocks and the related risk. He goes on to talk about the possibility that among the places, and this is something that maybe Lady D, Denise Legaspi, might know a thing or two about. These birds that have been brought in from the States, generally from places like California, where they have virulent Newcastle disease confirmed. Is it possible that some of the birds that have been brought out to Guam for what did he refer to them as? Backyard exhibition chickens may have been carrying with them a virulent Newcastle disease.
Yeah, well, you know, we can't call guys guys and girls girls, so we can't call cockfighting chickens chickens anymore. They're backyard, whatever you said.
Exhibition chickens.
Yeah, exhibition chickens.
Yeah. So you got that. So the answer is I don't know. And he says, well, you know, if there are animal health concerns, if it's possible that some of these birds from some of these farms in California where they've confirmed that they've got the virulent Newcastle disease have made their way to Guam, is there going to be any upshot around here? And I don't think the answer is going to end up being yes, because we don't really have a poultry industry here on Guam. No, it's not like there's a big chicken coop place down south like there used to be when I was a little kid.
Though, right? We're trying to do eggs.
Which
is a whole different thing.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know where they are on that. There was, we had that conversation with Mike Limtiaco not that long ago, and my cousin from over at Payless, and a bunch of guys that want to get together. Say it's that deal. Kenley Guerrero doesn't like the deal, and so he's been standing in front of them, and they said, well, if the margins would be unbelievably slim on it to begin with. So if there's any more that's added to the regulatory work that they've got to do, and meeting with local requirements, they just said forget about it. It's not worth doing it because the margins are so thin. Yeah. It will still end up being cheaper to just import the eggs from someplace else as opposed to doing it ourselves. Personally, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind it if we did have that kind of industry. I like the idea that I'm a little bit closer to the eggs. that I buy. That I might be able to get it from somebody down the street as opposed to wherever it is that Payless or the mom and pop store near the house gets the eggs. A little bit fresher, a little bit tastier, and they say maybe even a little bit healthier. It's 9:22 in the morning. 888-825-5888-TALK. I do need to follow up on this and find somebody. KOM running a story. Nothing on the books barring the importation of cocks to Guam. And according to this story, their investigation in recent years, shippers have skirted federal laws that ban the importation of fighting animals by mischaracterizing their birds as brood fowl or show fowl. What did I say? Exhibition chickens, backyard exhibition chickens. Agriculture Director Chelsea Munya-Breck said the group is citing a federal law, but there's nothing on the books locally barring birds from being shipped to Guam. That doesn't sound right. The federal law trumps Guam law. So even if we had, whether there's a law or not, if there's a federal law that says something is illegal, there doesn't need to be a companion local law that works along with that. The federal law, as I understand it, would trump this. So is it possible that maybe they are going to have to take a look at Mr. Pichel's input and see what they've got to say? No restrictions on the bird. She says she herself brought in 200 egg-laying chickens for her family farm during the period in question, cited by the Animal Wellness Action. The group is offering a $2,500 reward for cockfighting information, but it must lead to a federal conviction before reward money is paid. And based on the success of federal convictions that we've got with the methamphetamine guys and the dude that was stealing metal from Anderson Air Force Base, my guess is they wouldn't have anything to worry about there as well. Can we call them tallywhackers instead? Whatever your preference is. Are you worried that we're going to say, what is it, cockfighting too much and get a frowny face from somebody?
This has been brought up before, but I got to bring it up again, and it really should be given serious consideration. It's currently against federal law to consume marijuana, yet we passed a law saying that's okay. Mm-hmm. Why can't we do the same thing for cockfighting? Same difference. It is absolutely the same difference.
Yeah, I know. It's easier to ask. In my mind, that's the equivalent of saying it's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. So we'll just come out, do whatever it is that we're going to be doing around here. And I think that was the attitude all along. Is that's a federal deal. And the federales can do and say whatever they want to do, but we're here on Guam. Give us money, go away. Give us money, go away. We're going to do the marijuana thing. We know that you're not enforcing it at the federal level. That's fine. I don't know how much enforcement at the federal level this cockfighting ban is going to get. Yes, I said cockfighting again on the radio, and there's the glower from the Magahaga.
Yeah, you should,
Tallywhackers.
You should watch your language.
You say tallywhackers, Gibson. But I think that was the plan the entire time. What I don't think that anybody was counting on was a third party. The do-gooders over at what's the name of it? Animal welfare?
Yeah, those guys.
Those guys,
yeah,
right?
Those guys.
I don't think anybody had counted on a third party coming in with pockets apparently deep enough to put together reward money.
Oh, yeah, they're waving money and their self-righteous notions.
Yeah. And it seems like every week there's going to be another press release from these guys where they're going to be cry-bullying for these cockfighters. And I wonder if they're doing the same thing in the other territories where this new ban has taken effect.
If no one turns anyone else in here, do you think they'll go up in the reward money?
I don't know.
That's what they like to do.
$5, $10 million.
We'll do 5,000.
I don't know. Do I hear $10,000? Do I hear $15,000 to turn in your neighbor for doing something that heretofore, do you want to say cultural practice, historical practice, community looking the other way on these birds? Hey, listen, if you're really, really concerned, Mr. Pichel, if you're really, really concerned about animal welfare here on Guam, can you go and find the people that are shooting dogs up in Jigo? Oh, we already know who that is. Can you help us write laws that would protect the other animals? Because Judge Mike Berdalio keeps letting this other guy off the hook because of his interpretation of what those laws are. So maybe get with Mike and figure out the correct way to write that law so that if somebody starts shooting dogs again up in Jigo, we can actually arrest him and have him do some real time for doing that. That's number one. And maybe with all of the money that is available, maybe you you can help out with us conducting these catch the female dogs and spay them or neuter them. I forget what it is for the females. So spay those dogs and then release them back out into the community, which arguably the people over at Gain have been talking about doing that. We've got our own territorial veterinarian that has said that's got to be the only response that we can have to the explosion of dogs that we've got in this community is we've got to find all these females. And I know what you're thinking is, well, we'll get the females. Why do we need to spay them? Why don't we just euthanize them? And I don't know what the answer to that question is, but the idea is you would prevent them from having litter after litter after litter.
Right.
So that's there might even be a mathematical and timeline that you can put on it if we're successful in this program, how quickly we'd be able to reduce the numbers of these feral dogs.
You know, you would see the reduction really within the first couple of years. I mean, that's because the older population dies off. There's no more new puppies, and within a couple of years, you could probably buy at least a quarter.
So if these guys are concerned about all of the animals on Guam, maybe that's one of the things that they ought to do is instead of propping up all of this reward money for me to turn in my neighbors for fighting cocks like they've been doing forever and ever and ever. Oh my God, I said it again. Yeah. Forever and ever and ever, amen. Then maybe they ought to take some of that money and use those resources for those materials. Just a thought, just me thinking out loud. You're welcome to join in at 888-8255, 888-TALK. Buddy Daryl Taggarty is online. Cause Endo says Oklahoma finally allowed grocery stores to sell booze. Doesn't that sound funny that someplace like Oklahoma, where you go into the grocery store and say, where you keep your Miller Lite? And they say, we don't sell that here. Where do you keep your Budweiser? I need a Michelob. I need a 6-pack of old school Michelob. Where do you keep that?
Even to this day, there are counties in Texas that are dry. Can't buy alcohol, liquor, anything in that county. You got to go to the next county.
I was traveling in North Carolina in 95. So there with my mom and nephew R.D. We had gone on to visit the Underwoods of Gastonia. And we made it to Gastonia, North Carolina, or Gaston County, some people call it, I think. And so we get down there, and we're sitting around with friends and relatives that know about the Underwoods from there, that know about the Underwoods from here. It's been over 100 years since we've all been together as a family. But we had a little bit of reunion going down there, and it was great. And they said, "Oh, let's go. There's a great store, the great cafe down the street. Let's go eat there." And I said, "Okay, that sounds like a good idea." And so we went into this cafe and started to order. I wanted some country fried chicken or something like that. And I said, "Can I get a beer? Can I get a Budweiser with that?" And the lady says, "Oh, we don't have any Budweiser." I said, "Got light beer?" She said, "No, we don't have any light beer." I said, "Well, whatever beer you have, bring me one of those with my lunch." And the lady said, "No, you don't understand. This is Dry County, and we don't sell beer here at all." I said, "Wait, is it because it's Sunday?" She said, "No, not at all." And I thought, well, that is about the craziest, most backward thing I ever heard in my life. And I thought, my God, I am in hillbilly country. And so that's how they solved that problem. I said, well, if you wanted a beer, where would you go? And she says, you see that gas station down over there? I said, yeah. She says, that's over the county line. And this thing couldn't have been 300 yards away. But there it is. The county line's over here. That's the line of demarcation. But if you wanted a beer bad enough, go down the street and get a beer. Your intrepid correspondent went down the street and got a beer because there's no way I was going to make it through that meal without one. Bottom of the hour, it's 9:30 or so in the morning. It's the Ray Gibson Show on 93.3 The Point, and iConnect time is 9:30. Call them up and ask them about how they can save you money, mobile, internet, even push-to-talk plans at iConnect.
The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training.
Hi, I'm Jerry Roberts, and every day on The Ray Gibson Show, I get to comment on the incredibly diverse, fun, challenging, sometimes frustrating, often exciting, but always interesting world of work. I hope you'll be there with us.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at guamtraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts. Brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
Gasoline is up to $4.25. How about that? It's not as bad, I think, as we've ever seen it in our lifetimes here on Guam, but it certainly looks like it was moving in that direction. A lot of that has to do with the industry's response to the unrest in the Middle East. And when I say unrest in the Middle East, does it sound like I'm underscoring it? Do I like I'm understating that?
No, because I think that's really just what it is. You know, I mean, Iran launched their missiles. They didn't hit anything. It was just really a optical response to the killing of their general because they said they would. You knew they knew better than to actually drop things on people and kill Americans.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They sent a message, and basically what Trump said is, yeah, I heard you. We'll throw some more sanctions on you. Yeah, okay.
And so it should be all said and done except the screaming and all of that stuff. And as I said, you know, just the crazy kind of third world thing. Have you seen some of the footage of the funeral for that guy, that general?
Oh yeah,
and
boy,
how many people they killed, they trampled to death because they wanted to get close to the car. Just amazing how things work in that part of the world. And you just go, yeah, let's keep those people in that culture and that version of what they think might be civilization way over there. 9:32 in the morning, and earlier talking about how we're going to deal with the explosion of the dog population, which was an offshoot of the conversation I was having about the cry bullies with the anti-cockfighting people, and saying, you got money, then help us take care of our exploding dog population, because you want to talk about animals that are living a really awful life. You need not look any further than the local 4 or 5 boony dogs that live virtually around everybody's house. Got a message, Randy Kruger online saying, cheaper to neuter the male dogs. Why not round up the male dogs and neuter them? Well, the way it has been explained to me, Randy, and I'll try to explain it the same way to you, is you neuter a male dog, and that one male dog will not be able to sire any puppies. But if a dog comes along and gets with a female dog that has not been spayed, then she can make as many litters as she wants to, and so on and so on and so on. There's going to be females in that litter, and they won't be spayed. So the idea is we'll catch all of the girl dogs and render them infertile, and as they die off, they're not leaving new litters of female dogs that will then have babies. That's the idea, and I somebody would need to do some of the mathematical research. Somebody like, I don't know, Bob Kelly, who has PE at the end of his name, to sort out the mathematics and how many generations and how much time it would take before we brought the level of stray dogs to something that feels a little bit more controllable. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Well, first, since you were talking about the dry counties and stuff, I graduated from the University of Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky, which was obviously in a good party school, and we drank lots of good bourbon that was made in Kentucky. But
I imagine you did.
Yeah, that's why I like bourbon better than Scotch. I was what I was raised on in college. But the interesting thing is several of the counties that have the big bourbon distilleries are dry, and you can't sell the liquor they make there.
That's something else.
And I was stationed at Fort Knox several times. You could drink on base, but you couldn't drink directly off base. But if you went several miles up the road, you changed counties, and you could drink. And right on the county line was a place you could go get drinks. And they even had drive-through that you could drive through and get a margarita. Well,
if you're old enough, you might remember there was a drive-through liquor store here on Guam, right around where Infusion is in Tamuning, across from Nissan. There used to be a place there where you could drive through that parking lot and get yourself a 6-pack of beer or a bottle of booze.
Well, actually, that's fairly common in Ohio, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, they're selling it, in closed containers, refrigerated.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're going to a Fiesta and you can pull up and pop your trunk and pay the guy, and he puts 3 cases of Bud in the car for you to take to the Fiesta, that's a lot easier than running in and out of the supermarket with a cart.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very, very popular.
Don't disagree with you at all. I do want to note, though, late entry to the Ray Gibson show here, Mary Torres, that is Senator Mary Camacho Torres, is online this morning. And I gotta say, Mary, I'm trying to convince the members of the Republican Party to stop messing around with you and get it to a point where you say yes when they say, Mary, why don't you run for governor so that we can take over Adelup again? And if you need to, I'll run with you, and there'll be Mary Torres and Ray Gibson, and we'll win the thing back for the Republicans and stop the
I think she would want to get elected, Ray. Just saying.
Shut up! I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Mary. I'm sorry, Bob. Go.
She's one of the highest vote getters in the Republican Party.
Yeah, you'd think the rest of the Republican Party would show a little bit of respect and give her a real title at the legislature instead of screwing her over every time it comes up.
Anyway, talking about the dogs, I have a daughter who deals with animals.
Yes.
And I've talked to her about this because she went through many years of school on this type of thing. If you euthanize the animal, the other animals will reproduce more because of the population issue of animals in an area. So by neutering and releasing the dog, that actually reduces the reproduction of any animals that are not neutered.
Say that again?
Okay. If there's a certain amount of population that an area can handle, and it's almost self-regulating. If you were to neuter and release, then that tends to impact how many other dogs that have not been neutered or not neutered but have not been spayed will reproduce, because the reproduction activities are partially based upon what the area can support. So by euthanizing them and leaving those areas open, you end up with more litters of dogs in that area from the ones that are not spayed.
All right, I understand, and my guest understands what you're trying to say as well, and so it kind of makes sense. But I'm wondering, and Mike and I were talking out loud about what kind of time frame we might be talking about before we see something like an impact. It makes sense. We render the females infertile, and they won't be making as many new litters, and that will begin to decrease the population to something that's a little bit more controllable and not as rampant as it is now.
One thing we could do here that was done in the States is when my daughter was going through school, she had a 3-week period that she did nothing but neuters. They had what they called the neuter bus that went to different areas in the region and would go to a shelter area or something or set up, and they would do nothing but all-day neutering. There'd be like 6, 7 students on there with a veterinarian supervising, and that's how the kids get the practice of how to do surgery and so on. And it would be, I think, one of the things I suggested is we should put some funding in, even if we have to use airline miles that we have in the government bank, and go to some of the schools in the States and ask them to send their students, because I think a lot of the students, especially in cold areas like Minnesota or Washington State or something, would love to come to Guam for 3 weeks and do nothing but neuter animals all day. And if we could bring some of those teams in, they go through hundreds of dogs a week, because you have 4 or 5 students doing 4 or 5 neuters a day, and you can do the math. And the fact that they're practicing and it's just a boonie dog, if somebody makes a mistake because they are kids, it's not killing somebody's pet.
Yeah. Yeah, fine, and maybe, like I said, we can talk to these animal welfare people who are just so gung-ho concerned about all of the animals on Guam, including the feathered roosters that are imported from the States. Maybe they can direct some attention to that and some of the other work that we need to get done.
But I'd like to see Dr. Poole, our territorial vet right now, go ahead and invite some of these schools, because if we could bring a school out here 4 or 5 times a year with 4 or 5 students and a veterinary instructor to do nothing but neutering, that helps the kids out in their training, and it would help the population of Guam. And I think we should get out on the horn and start inviting some of the schools, because that's what they do. That's part of their 3rd year and 4th year training.
Well, you know what? I'm in reasonably close contact with the territorial veterinarian, and maybe I'll ask him about doing something along those lines.
Okay.
Be fun. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later. Sure, did you enjoy the Dr. Buzzes last night? Oh, I hung up already. Yeah, it's one of those things. We saw each other at one of my favorite places last night, and I was drinking the low octane version, and he was going for the higher octane version, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, hit me up on Facebook. Find me on Facebook as well. There's a real funny thing from College Humor that a buddy of mine had posted on his Facebook page, and I stole it from him. You know Jeff Elke, and so I stole the thing from him and shared it to among my followers on Facebook as well. So if you and I are,
If I could turn back time.
It's funny. It's a get together between a couple of generals, one from Iraq and one from the United States, and the Iraqi guy is saying, "I thought you said you were pulling out," and the guy says, "I did pull out." He says, "Well, how come I still have a base?" It's a riff on something naughty, which is why I can't actually play the thing on the radio for you. Daryl Taggarty online asking, Ray, don't you want Don't you and Mary want to take back Adeloop for the people? Is that a Freudian slip showing from under your running shorts? No, I don't know that the fact that underlying sentiment here, if I were to be blessed by the voters with an opportunity to serve either in the legislature or running with Mary Torres in 2022, she's probably laughing her head off. Is the ideal would be to take it back, obviously, and among the things that I would do, and this is the party, this is my platform, this is the disruptor platform. I want to go in there and disrupt the status quo. We have had for too many years this procession, if you will, of people who have really, outside of working in the government, no real other working experience.
Right.
Have you run a business? Have you had to sweat out making sure all your vendors get paid, doing all of this other stuff, and know a thing or two about? I'm not saying that we got to run government like a business all the time, but there ought to be pragmatic and fair use for all of the people of Guam, of all of the different resources that we've got here on Guam. And I don't know that happens, because everybody else kind of gets in there, wants to ride the retirement gravy train and enjoy hitting the Gov Guam lottery.
Wait.
Yeah.
You mean that's not supposed to be a reason for running? Because if I were going to run, it would simply because it looks cool and it looks great on a resume.
Yeah, it was Senator Michael Knight, Senator Ray Gibson, actually Congressman Ray Gibson. That's always kind of captivated me.
Oh, don't stop, just governor.
Lieutenant Governor. I don't know. I'm just saying. And the idea is that we go in there and really try to fix many of the problems that we've got around here. And starting with Guam Memorial Hospital, we move over to the police department and the fire department, make sure that they've got the resources that they need. The joke that is the Department of Corrections is no longer funny. It amazes me that we are not under more stricter consent decrees on the entire government to finally just stop what we're doing out there and build a real state-of-the-art something that is scalable to the size of the island and the nature of our problems, and build an actual prison. You can still call it a correctional facility if you want to. If you want to go down that road where, we just want to coddle these guys and tell them what they did wrong and try to help correct their behavior over the years, you can do that if you want to. Let's do it with them behind bars.
I'm not sure the feds are really aware of just how bad our situation here is in terms of the Correction Institute. I don't think they know. If they knew, they probably would be involved, whether we wanted them to be or not, because there are certain, if nothing else, just on a human rights level, I mean, these guys are not getting the proper health care because, and other things that they're not getting that we're not really hearing about because no one cares. They're prisoners.
Yeah, the prisoners, they stepped out of line and they get what they deserve.
But if the government...
However, here's the problem, and I get this from a lot of people, and that's one of the reasons why we've got this revolving door around over at the criminal justice system, because they don't have the facilities to take all the number of hard cases that we've got here that deserve to be behind bars. We simply don't have the space for them at the correctional facility that we've got. Now, there's in my mind, there's two ways that we can get around this. One of them is ensure that anybody that is deportable is deported.
Yes.
Eddie Calvo did a whole bunch of those, and as far as I know, and you've heard me say this a dozen times, as far as I know, nobody has been deported under this new administration, and I don't understand why not. If we can find a way to get these guys and their sentences commuted and get them out of here with a note that says these people are never, ever, ever, ever to return to Guam. Even if you get sick, you're not allowed to come back. You go to Hawaii. You go all the way to Hawaii if you get sick, but you're not allowed to come back to Guam. You wore out your welcome because you touched that kid in the wrong way. Or you keep getting in fights with machetes, all of these things, and get the majority of these guys back into their home islands where they can be somebody else's problem.
And if you were to do that, I almost guarantee you would instantly clear out 1/4 of the population.
Yeah, could be. Now, and with what we've got left, the space that we've got left, we need to build a new facility. Like I said, state-of-the-art facility. And maybe that's something that we could find, or a consent decree, or the federal judge can appoint a receiver and find all of the local monies that need to be gotten that are being wasted on FestPac, and instead use those to start talking about building up someplace where we can send all the bad guys that we seem to be growing a whole lot of these days. And that's maybe where we got to get into a little bit of the behavioral deals that we need to talk about. Why is it? And this is something that I don't understand. We've been dealing with crystal methamphetamine. I first became aware of the nature of the problem back in the 1990s. I was asked to sit on a panel that at the governor's office at Governor Gutierrez's request. I was asked to sit on a panel and work with people in law enforcement addressing one of a couple of problems that we had. One was the gang problem, and the other one was the drug problem. And I didn't know how bad the drug problem was until I learned a little bit more about crystal methamphetamine. And then, as time goes by, you start to realize just how deep into the community it has gotten. I had an uncle of my first